Wells Committee.
Everyone will come say, hey, why don't
It's on screen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
County Administrator, I think you are up first.
Calm down. You want to skip over this?
I always thought.
I'm going to make a motion. The Board of Commissioners approves the May 2nd, 2024 regular meeting minutes and the May 9th, 2024 regular meeting minutes.
I will second that.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
I'll abstain. Wasn't here.
You don't have
I
to.
wasn't
We
here.
You don't have to.
Did we notice?
It's just a form.
No. They didn't even put my picture.
It was a struggle, but we made it.
We whizzed right
Keep
through it,
reading,
buddy.
please.
Okay, in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G3, the Board of Commissioners moves into executive session to conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending court action.
Say it.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes. Everybody
Alright.
here will, the three are staying?
July.
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Is there any action?
No action.
What?
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, thank you.
Have a good week.
Thank you. You too, thank you. Lisa, you are up, ma'am.
Okay, real quick. We have a project here in the city of Ravenna that we would like to apply for a critical infrastructure grant. What it is, it's a project that involves replacing 1,128 lineal feet of undersized conduit and storm conduit, and replacing catch basins and some drive aprons, some drains, and on Jones Avenue. The section of Jones Avenue is adjacent and downstream of the city park. It is also a low moderate income area. The existing sewer does not have adequate capacity to serve the drainage areas, which leads to backing up of the system and flooding the residents' property on both the north and south side of Jones Avenue, along with the residents along Williams Avenue, and which is located north of Jones Avenue. The total estimated project cost is $305,780. So we would be coming back with, hopefully, we gotta submit a pre-application first, which are due June 2nd. It's not gonna require commissioner's signature, I just need your approval to be able to submit it.
Yep.
So,
Go for it.
Ditto.
All right.
Commissioner Tinlin?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, that was easy. Lisa?
Lisa, you have another guest with you?
yes, this is Kelly.
Hi,
Kelly. Kelly.
She is a volunteer to help me, Evelyn, whoever, a couple of days a week.
Oh, excellent.
Oh,
All right, nice to meet you.
thank you,
Pleasure.
Kelly.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Take
All
care.
right.
Thank you.
All right. Internal Services, good morning, Ms. Shannon.
Good morning. Hi, Shannon.
Hi. Like I've been gone for months.
Isn't it amazing? how
I know, 2
quickly
weeks, and I was
just-
like, what?
You were gone 2 weeks?
No, I was only gone one, but I
You
was
were
at
gone?
leader. I was at leadership the
Leadership.
other week. Before I do my project updates, I want to discuss Tavern 1888 at 106 East Main Street. As you guys are aware, she did not re-sign a lease. She's doing the holdover rate now, currently. I don't know if she's selling or what she's planning to do. But with that being said, I was approached as to if she does sell, how much are we gonna charge? So I don't know if the commissioners want to keep it at her rate, or if we go at the rate that the rest of the Riddle Block building is at, $7.07 per square foot. She currently is paying at the holdover rate $887.04, and then the rate for, if we go ahead with the cost allocation plan at $7.07 per square foot, it would be $1,217 per month.
Okay. So I've had several people call me because the word's out
Okay.
that the business is for sale, and everyone's curious because obviously she must be telling them how cheap her rent is, because they're asking if the rent's gonna stay the same. And I said she's month to month, and I said the board is gonna look at it, because when she moved in, I said she did some work and stuff, so we offset it. And I said, and her rent is under market, because I called and talked to several bars and restaurants, and they all said for that building, in order to keep it cost effective and be successful for the business in downtown Ravenna, they all stated it should be between, their estimate would be $1,200 to $1,500 a month. So when you say Maximus came in at $1,217, that's fair market rent for that. And I would suggest that we go with Maximus,
Okay.
because we use Maximus for all our other rentals, and I don't think it's fair that we make an exception for this. And like I said, in talking with other folks that have restaurants that lease space, they all said it should be around 1,200 to 1,500-ish. So when you said Maximus, because at first you thought Maximus was going to be like 2,200, and I'm like, there's no way we would
Yeah, that
ever
was
get
what I
that
came
for
before.
downtown. But then you said that you looked at it wrong. It's actually 1,217.
Yeah.
I think we should go with the Maximus rate, and that's just my opinion.
I
But
don't
we
wanna-
put a lot of money in it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do anything, I mean, out of fairness to the owner as to what she's going to end up doing.
Right,
Um,
right.
I really have no opinion until that's over.
Okay, so if anybody calls me, cause I'll have realtors calling me.
Sure.
Saying, what is your rate gonna be if she sells her business?
Minimum of 1217.
Let's just say that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I had realtors calling me, and then they wanted to know if we bring, you know, a client to you, would the Board of Commissioners pay commission? I said, absolutely not. Because you're
We
not
can't-
contracted,
we
and
can't.
legally,
Yeah,
we
we
can't
can't.
as a government entity
Can
pay.
we put a quarter in there? Can we put a quarter?
Oh my
in there?
gosh.
Hey, I'm just asking for a friend.
Okay, so, all right, so I'll just, if they do call me, if somebody's
I would say-
interested in it, if she's talking to somebody, I'll just say the minimum's 1217.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
perfect. And that's, every year that changes, Maximus, cause it will probably go up next year because we're doing so many renovations
Mhm.
right now to that building, so.
And you know, and that's something we probably should mention in the lease, that each year,
It's just a 1-year lease too, so.
yeah,
So we'll just do a new one every year, right, for whoever's.
How long has she been in there?
She's been there since, I was looking at that myself, she's been there since like 2016. And it was on the market for a while, cause, you know, it wasn't, so they gave her like a lesser rate, the board
Mhm.
did at the time.
Mhm.
And then her rent was actually held for 2 years during COVID at the same rate, because everybody was kinda struggling, you know, at that
Yeah.
time, so.
yeah.
She started at 740.
And she did some work, but again, you know what, when she moves out, no one else invested in that. It's time for us to go back up to
Okay. Okay, all right, and then I just,
Worth.
I just have project updates too.
Okay.
so. There we go.
Well, thank you so
You're
much.
so welcome. So if you look at the admin building, the elevator we thought they were gonna start on, I came back from vacation and they decided last minute to start on the other elevator, so. That's it doesn't matter, they all gotta be replaced
That's
anyway.
right.
And then if you keep hearing the booming, I know that Claire had informed you, but they're craning those elevators up there right now, the new ones into the penthouse. So I keep hearing, it sounds like thunder when I was up here. The auditor's office renovation and the 7th floor, the architect's contract is currently being routed right now. Now, we told him, that we needed to not make it, you know, a couple $1 million. So with that, his rate went down, it
Whose
was-
rate went down?
The architect's rate did. It was 181, and we had approved it at that. But we asked for all 3 floors to come in at $1 million or under, because it was supposed to be $2 million or more, like 1.5 just for the auditor. So they came back at 155, so they dropped their price significant. I thought it was quite a bit of money, so. Just so you know, that's for the auditor, the 7th floor, and then on page 2, also the building department lobby. And then, on page 3,
What did you say on page 2? I'm sorry. I flipped.
the building department, that was also included with the
Oh,
renovations.
okay.
The annex building, the expansion tank for the boiler is delayed, so it put us back to June 3rd. It's not gonna really put us back on like when we wanna move in, but, they just wanted us to, they wanna install it all at the same time, so, but with that being said, the ADA, the doors have been installed and they have finished painting the 2nd floor and they're moving to the 1st floor now. And I know that Will wants to have a meeting and we're meeting with him next week just to start discussing now what our game plan is, cause we'll have to do carpeting and all sorts of.
I was looking at that handicap ramp. That's gonna be able, earthquake, bombs.
Yeah, it's sturdy. Those footers are
Footers.
deep.
Yeah. Wanna know who you buried in those. Wow.
Yeah, they're deep, you're right. And then, let's see. If you go to page 5, the mini splits, have been completed and they're installed. It's actually today they'll be completed and installed, but they were pretty much done by the end of yesterday, and they showed dispatch how to use it, and they were very grateful. I got a nice email from Dan Young. So,
Oh, good.
yeah, and then I think, let's see, and then if you go to page 7, the awnings, those were completed last week, so we are done with that. That's all I have, and I just have some resolutions.
It's been a very successful year to get projects started.
Yeah, we're getting done.
Awesome.
Thank you, ARPA funds.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you done?
I'm done, I just have resolutions.
Okay. The Board of Commissioners accepts the proposal for OmniPro Services LLC and enters into an agreement for providing professional services for the project known as 2024 Roadway Construction Administration Contract.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners approves the agreement with Quench USA, Inc. for filtered water service and authorizes the signing of the agreement for Portage County Regional Airport. So
Second.
what is filtered water service for the
I think
airport?
it's drinking water.
It's like
right?
what
Is
we have
that
out
just
here.
like,
It's like here, like
Just
these.
like what we have out here.
oh,
They just
is
have
that
a
what
little
we go
agreement.
through here?
I think
They
the
get-
company changed names.
They got
from
bought out, I
Culligan
can't remember,
and
it's
now
Water Logic, I
Quench.
think.
Oh,
Water
really?
Logic and Quench.
So it's the same, okay, I just wanted to make sure, cause that's what I thought it was, but I'm like, why didn't we go with who we have for all the other buildings? Okay, alright, I'll make a motion to, approve that.
Stop.
Wait,
You didn't
Sabrina,
approve it. She
Sabrina?
didn't vote. You didn't
Yeah.
vote.
Oh, yes, I'm
Mike?
sorry.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners approves an agreement with Centus Corporation for commercial mats and other related facility supplies via participation in the State of Ohio DOS contract and authorizes the signing of the agreement for the Portage County Regional Airport.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Okay, the Board of Commissioners approves an agreement with Mackinac Software LLC doing business as NEAWAS for the dissemination of meteorological aerodrome reports via the FAA Weather Message Switching Center Replacement System and authorizing the signing of the agreement for the Portage County Regional Airport.
Can you read that again?
I know, right?
Oh,
Hard.
This is the first.
It's a mouthful.
It is.
Second. Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Okay, the Board of Commissioners agrees to month-to-month tenancy with DTMIC LLC doing business as Tavern 1888 concerning the premises located at 106 East Main Street, Ravenna, Ohio.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Shannon.
Thanks.
Thank you, Shannon.
Sir Rob, you're up.
All right. Okay, thank you, commissioners, for having me in today. If
Hi, Mom.
she probably is watching.
Hi, Mom.
Okay,
Rob, you can use the clicker if you'd like, you just have to turn it on the
oh, this works
side. You
too,
let me
doesn't
know
it?
when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. So trying out a tagline, elevate your point of view. The FAA identifier for the airport is POV, so see if elevate your point of view is catchy. This is your airport team. The suave debonair guy on the right is the new employee, Dan DeGamarino. The ugly guy is me.
Like the jacket.
Talk about 3 things today: airport leasing, fixed base operations, and our FAA partner. Let's see, airport properties, T-hangars, and aero development. Right now, there is no vacancy, and we do have a waiting list. There's 39 T-hanger units that are leased. We're using 2 of the 41, so there's 41 total. We're using 2 of them to store the tractor and the grass and snow plow, all that kind of equipment. So there's a total of 41 units over there. There are 3 detached box hangars, which you're well aware of. Those are on the north side. and their rent range is 500 to 1,900.
Rob, the
Yep.
2 units are used for BOC equipment storage, Board of Commissioners?
That would be the snowplow, the tractor, those sort of
Well,
equipment.
that's not it's ours, but it's the airport
Right,
that's used for
right.
that.
I
I was
mean-
like, what the heck are we storing out there?
Well,
Okay.
But we became the.
yeah, it's your
BOC.
tractor.
Okay, but when I hear the Board of Commissioners, I'm
Right,
like,
right.
I
That
would say
tractor's
it's the
sweet.
airport's.
It is sweet. It's a, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Question.
Yes, sir.
If our stuff wasn't in there,
No.
how much would we,
Okay, if our stuff wasn't in there, we wouldn't be able to put an airplane in there because the floor is cracked and it's
That's the
actually,
one we looked at.
it's the B building, it's the BT hangar that actually I'm gonna talk about here in a second. We should demo that building.
And where would we put all that stuff?
Well, that's another thing I wanna talk about here. So right now, as we talk about those T hangars, tenancy versus fee simple ownership, there are some tenants out there that have performed leasehold improvements with and without permission over the years. So this practice has led some of them to believe that they have some sort of fee simple ownership of the T hangar. According to the FAA, I sent out a letter or a memo a couple of weeks ago. I believe you guys were all copied on that, saying that you can only put an airplane in an airplane hangar. You can't put your boat, you can't put your RV, anything that's non-aeronautical can't go in the hangar. And we had several instances of that in our T hangars, and I've addressed that. And people have been given notice that they need to move out the offending pieces of equipment and put an airplane in there. If they don't have an airplane, then they need to turn back the lease and we'll end up renting it to somebody on the waiting list. Anticipated capital repairs, after being out there for the last 5 months, it's the list of deferred maintenance. That BT hangar, we're looking at around $2.7 million in anticipated capital repairs that I'm gonna ask the FAA for grant money for. Those BT hangars, the building is leaning. It doesn't have separate electrical service to the individual units. And the floor is cracked to the point where, it's gotta be 12 inches in some places. I think you've all been there. So when you're there in the wintertime and when you're there when it's warmer, it's bad. It actually has water that's running underneath there that you can actually see through the cracks. And the engineer, the airport engineer, Thrasher, that's the company that the airport authority had chosen for the 5-year engineering contract. They've estimated it at $108,000 to demo that building. Looking at T hangars A and D, they do need some capital repairs, roofs. There's some concrete that needs to be addressed in A. And here you see $422,000 the estimate for A and $202,000 for D. Now, where do we put all of our equipment once we demo B? That's where we come up with a snow removal equipment bay or hangar. Right now, a simple pole barn is around $320,000 is the estimate to do that. Again, we use the magic words of snow removal equipment, SRE, and that gets us into the FAA grant cycle. Pavement maintenance, under drains on the runway, and the big thing, the crack seal and the pavement maintenance, that's just regular routine stuff that we're just always gonna be doing. It's basically you start at one end of the airport and you work your way to the other end, and now you gotta start back at the other end after a 20-year cycle. The upgrade to the runway and taxiway lighting to LED fixtures, we're actually coming up with a problem where we can't get the incandescent bulbs to replace the taxiway lights and the runway lights. Genesis Lamp out of Mentor is actually trying to source some bulbs for us. We've had some bulbs that are questionable in their origin. I think they're Chinese. And that means I just think they're coming in, they're bad quality. They go in, they burn for about a day before they burn out. So what we'd be looking at is an LED upgrade, and that's FAA eligible. It just, we need to be competitive on those grants. Right now, the incandescent bulbs, we're burning about $20,000 in electricity per year through those incandescent bulbs. The bulbs themselves are coming in at around $15 a bulb, if we can get them. And then they're supposed to last around 800 hours. That's a steady state. The problem with our situation is we have pilot controlled lighting, so they get turned on and off. So that on-off cycle ends up lessening the lifespan of the bulb. So we're gonna have to do something about moving to LED fixtures. Fixed base operations, the good news. Avgas sales, since we've taken over, we've sold 7,744 gallons of avgas. That's on track with the estimate or projection, our sales projection for this year of 32,000. So we're right on. May, June, July, August are going to be much better flying season, and we'll see an uptick in the sales there. Jet A. Jet A is with additive, meaning that we take care of any sort of water that might accumulate, or any. Jet A is basically diesel, so it can accumulate a bio. It'll grow stuff in it without the additive. So we do have the additive. And we're on track now at about 5,700 gallons of Jet A that's been sold so far without a hangar, or without an airplane that's based in the hangar that's using it. So Geist Development had sold their King Air, and the UH helicopter is not permanently based there. Geist Development, when they buy a new airplane, and once we get the helicopter there, our jet fuel sales should increase, and they have to increase. Best thing that I can share with you in this whole presentation is yesterday we got word that we did pass our branding audit, and we are a Phillips 66 branded dealer now. And that's going to be a big boom for the airport. This means that if we push the Phillips 66 credit card, and our customers that are based at the airport use the Phillips 66 credit card, we'll be able to save the credit card processing fee, which is around 4% for each sale. So we should be able to pass that savings on to the based customers at the airport, which is something that they've been clamoring for, is a discount on fuel. But we can't give them a discount on fuel based on the margins and all that we're working at without them using the Phillips 66 credit card to take away that.
So that's a good workaround.
Yeah. This also answers any objection any company might have for quality of fuel. So we'll actually have the quality and the certificate authenticities from all the racks when we bring fuel in. So there shouldn't be any question about the quality of the fuel that's sold at the Portage County Airport. Right now, our FAA partner, the deliverables that are outstanding to them, there's an Exhibit A. This is part of the airport layout plan. It's essentially a list of properties that are encumbered by FAA grants. This was part of the master plan, and it's in the 2021 grant closeout right now. The FAA has not accepted the Exhibit A that was originally presented to the Airport Authority. There's too many deficiencies in that, and we're working on correcting those as quickly and as accurately as we can. Essentially, we need to go back and research all of the grants and the reimbursement for any land and making sure that our grant assurances are tied back, and that the FAA can accept that. That's one of the keys to actually getting to our sponsorship, being the sole sponsor of the airport. The other outstanding document is the through the fence agreement. So with our north side users, we need to actually have that through the fence agreement that the FAA accepts again also and agrees with. The initial through the fence that was presented by the airport authority was not necessarily rejected, but came back with a lot of red ink on it from the FAA. So we're almost to the point of starting over. And we're working through that right now with the north side users to actually get that through the fence taken care of. Once those two items are taken care of, then it'll be a matter of satisfying the sponsorship change and getting us from co-sponsor to sole sponsor of the airport. This is the Exhibit A that was presented by CHA. And I know that that's an eye chart up there right now. But the biggest problem with it is the grants that they've listed in the chart don't match up with the actual parcels. And it turns out that the subcontractor that did this for CHA actually used an old Exhibit A and never came here and went down to the fourth floor and checked any of the actual deeds and parcels, and didn't really do their due diligence when they presented this. So this is a matter of actually going and doing all that sort of deed research. And then that's all I have. I can stand for questions if you have any.
Good job, Bob.
I'm good.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Kelly Jo, good morning.
Morning. Hope to be concise, this isn't my full day, I just had 2 updates to provide to you. You ready for me to begin?
Please.
So annually, we need to hold, I think I explained it a couple meetings ago, a community planning committee to update our prevention, retention, and contingency program and plan. This is a plan where we use federal TANF dollars to help individuals to either divert them from coming onto public assistance or to help with emergency situations. So the plan before you just had the committee met several weeks ago, a few updates because of costs in the community. We're increasing a future back to school program vouchers from $125 to $150.
Oh, good.
Increasing driver's education funds from $400 to $500, as we know that we're not being able to meet the full fee of driver ed funds. Car repairs, because of the costs of supplies and maintenance, we're increasing that to $1,500 from $1,000. And then for families that agree to take on the care and support of relatives, there's a kinship support piece that monthly stipend moving to $400 from $350. I thought this was gonna be full and we can move it on to the state for final approval, but we've been meeting, we've had 3 meetings over the last month to try to support Judge Gilletto and her court. She at times needs to order a parenting time for parents going through divorces, and the cost is kind of patched through to the families. We do have some families that struggle to pay those, and so she uses the place of peace. So a couple of us came together in support of her to try to think creatively how we can help her in that space. And so what we're going to do is insert that program into this PRC plan that you have before you, and allow individuals to apply for financial support for their parenting time. If they are up to 200% of the federal poverty guideline, we would subsidize that cost. She currently uses Place of Peace. So I'm not gonna bring the plan back unless you want me to. I just wanted to tell you we're gonna insert that. The Community Planning Committee was notified via email by me yesterday and asked for an online vote if they supported that insertion. And everything that's come back so far, they have until tomorrow has been a yes, to try to fill that gap in service, so.
How much does that cost if she orders that?
Per visit.
$24 per parenting time hour, so that's what, Family and Community Services would charge for an hour of supervised parenting time.
How often do they order that?
That, I don't know. I know she's on your agenda later today. I don't know that it's that frequent, but it's enough that, again, with what's going on right now with Place of Peace and they're prioritizing paid agreements, sometimes families are waiting months to be able to start to have supervised visits with their kids during a divorce, and we all agree that's not in the best interest of kids and families, so we're hoping that then, also Kent State was at the table, so in tandem with this, Kent State is willing to work on an internship program to help Judge Giletto, so she's really ecstatic about that too.
Good.
Good?
All right, thank you.
And the other item I had was just, I talked about this in my last formal meeting, that we applied, Medina Portage in Columbiana County applied to be a pilot program under the tiered foster care new initiative, and we were awarded. So each of our counties will get $75,000 to start. We'll pool our money, start planning, to find a representative that's gonna help to recruit more foster families in our 3 counties that would help to serve more of those kids with deep end needs. So I'll give you absolutely more updates as we grow the program, but was excited that we got awarded that.
Excellent.
Very
And
good.
that's all I had
Good job.
today.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Alright.
Thank you, have a great day.
Joe,
All right.
good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm well, Commissioner. How are you? How's everybody? Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Administrator. Good morning, staff. As requested from last week's request for resolution for a agreement for a backup master plans examiner services, I've done a little more digging around to find out kind of what we, pardon me, what we have available to us for master plans examiners. I've compiled and maintained obtained a list of the current 13 surrounding departments with the names of the currently contracted, assigned, permanent, part-time employees and or consultants that provide services to those joining. 8 of which were individuals, a couple were actual companies, and 1 specifically our current safe staffing point source that we use for contracted services for inspectors as needed. And I'd like to note that even our safe staffing point source has no master plans examiner available at all to acquire their contract services. So I've reached out in a indirect fashion to kind of find out who locally to us and who also is working in some of the platforms that we use. And I hate to say this, but we are so limited right now with a stressed pool of qualified individuals. Some of these individuals have actually retired from elsewhere and they're doing this part-time, and they're kind of maxed out at their number of contracts that they wish to engage in order to provide the necessary turnaround in services. I actually did speak with a recently interim certified individual as well. I'd just like to make note, if that route gets pursued, that ultimately will cause more work for me, because at that point I've got to re-review the interim's work. At that point, as the building official, I have that responsibility. But even though everybody gets a chance to start out as an interim, starting somewhere, in the current crunch that we have in the building department, I think that might not be the very best way to go. But that's my update at this point. I am here before you to respectfully request reconsideration of the resolution for the contract for a backup master plans examiner services. And I can assure you that that individual for that company does not hold the same responsibilities as they did previously. That responsibility now falls upon me, and I can assure you that past historic performance and or backlogs of some work from that perspective will not happen. Because I am the plans, I am the building official, I will review that work, but that particular company will just be performing plan review components, not administering the department.
Could you give me a synopsis of what you just said? You're gonna get rid of the resolution that not to have the master plan person?
No, we still need to have
Okay.
a contract for master plan, because Mr. Ross is currently, my part-time master plans examiner is on FMLA at this point. We now have a backlog of work that we need to attack, and get that turned around. I am requesting a resolution or approval of the resolution to contract for backup plans, master plans examiner services on an as-needed basis.
We tabled it
If I-
last
yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Because the person was our former
Okay.
director
Mm-hmm.
that we let go.
Yeah. So it sounds like the person that we're speaking of is very good at reviewing as a master plans examiner. He's very good at doing that, and he'll have that limited, when we need you, you're there.
Mhm.
Okay.
And he currently works in the electronic platform that we have in another jurisdiction as well. So he's very familiar with the workings of the OpenGov platform.
All right.
And you will have all public conversations, right? Like you'll reach out to the end user. So if there are any concerns whatsoever, you can always revoke that ability for the master plans examiner to go out and review and have interaction with the public.
Yeah, I
If
still.
we have an issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. I still have, out of section 104 of the building code, the ability, without having a full-time master plans examiner in our employ, to do the required plans review. So I can directly, and I will be the contact person for direct contact with any individual applicant.
All right.
You basically did what was asked. We tabled it and you did your homework and you got the information for it.
All right.
Well, I understand, and it's a problem everywhere, is to have these folks with the credentials and stuff. My only thing is like I said, if we start getting calls or he's reviewing them and he's kicking them back and they have to come back multiple times like we had in the past, we'll have to rescind it. I'm just telling you now.
Understood.
So we could have a 6-month trial,
Yeah.
trial period of time?
Yeah, his contract, let's do the contract short term and hopefully Bill will be back. But then in the future, I thought we had talked about possibly looking, at trying to acquire, you have 2 part-time. One's commercial, one's residential, correct?
You were trying to hire some, but right now you can't even hire anybody with these credentials.
Exactly.
Right.
So we'll continue to work on that.
Yeah, we'll kind of hone our skills and see if we can kind of narrow, because right now that pool continues to shrink and get shallower by the week, and as people continue to retire at the end of their professional work career, few of them come back into and do plans examinations on a consulting basis. It's just
So
a fact.
it's just gonna be PRN, whenever we need someone.
Mhm.
It's not set days or anything,
Correct.
just whenever is needed.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the flow on this, but, also if we have any kind of problem, he's done. I mean, that's my opinion.
So yes, we'll do that if he signs a contract, a short-term contract, then,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Do
sir.
we need anything else? Does-
His resolution that was tabled last week, do we have that?
I do not have it with me.
Okay, I'll take care of that right now.
Okay. Anything else, Joe?
That's it.
All right, thank you,
Okay,
sir.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. Thank you.
All right.
Jackie, good morning.
How are you?
Good morning.
Great. How are you?
Good. Okay, so I have a couple discussion items this morning. Both of them are kind of circling back on conversations that were had last week.
Yeah.
So the first one is the grant application for the Sheriff's Office COPS grant. I don't know if Ralph, if you
Ralph,
want
are you
do
here
wanna-
to speak on that?
Yeah,
Give us some information.
Sure.
So this is the grant that is to hire 6
Go on,
additional
Chief.
deputies. The, you know, what we were discussing, the challenge might be is that the match is pretty high. Overall, the first 3 years is about a 50-50, and then the last 2 years is
On us.
completely taking over. And
Yeah, and it's like we talked last week a little bit. I'd rather have half than none. And as we go along through the years, first couple years anyway, I think it's what, 3-year grant?
it's 5
5
years.
years.
5 years.
It's a help to us, and it's something that we wouldn't have before. And if I could half and half that for my home, I'd do it. So I'm kind of, we're at an application stage right now, and to not allow it to go through on an application, I think would be kind of silly. As it looks down the road, we'll make that decision as it goes, but I've been for it and I'm still for it, so.
So Ralph, can you explain to us then, you said we didn't do the COPS grant the last
We
time, because
did
we did a
not.
different, that was a
The
different
Ohio
one.
EMA ARPA that's last week, I was mistaken, we have the Ohio EMA ARPA, which we hired 8 new deputies with that one, and that was no local match. So that's a little different than this one.
It was no local match?
Right,
Okay, and how long was that for?
2 years, I believe.
Okay,
So this one is 5 years, the first 3 years we match, and then there's a grant, and
How
then the
much do we
last,
match? Percentage?
it's,
50/50?
yeah, it's
it's
50/50.
roughly 100,000 that we match. Then the last 2 years, we cover all the expenses, which is around $400,000 each year, so.
So Ralph, my questions are same as I've asked multiple times. What is the number of deputies that our sheriff's department needs? What's the goal? Number 2 part of that is we've got, I think last year, the year before, we brought, State of Ohio gave you, I think 6, or what was it that you got?
8.
8, you got 8, and that's about up. When I asked, hey, what happens if we can't afford those when it is? And the answer was, oh, well, we've talked about each one of them, put them in corrections. Is what you guys said on the phone when we were speaking about that. I asked that. So what is our sheriff's department's goal for number of deputies they need? And I'll just stop right there, because I have other things what the deputies are doing, problems with.
And you know what, Ralph, also to tag on to that, I just need to know how many deputies we currently have, how many vacancies do we have that are not filled, if you could just add that to.
So we're down 9 full-time deputies.
How many deputies do we want? So let's start from,
Well-
this is ideal for us.
Ideally, we would have, the plan was going to be as last year when you guys turned down the original COPS grant, where we were gonna get an additional 6.
What is the number that we want, not the 6, not this 6, this 8, what is the number the sheriff's department says, we want, this is the contingency, we'd like this many deputies? And I
So-
asked that 3 years ago.
So I think the realistic number would be to be able to get, if we had the ability of getting an additional 6, to be able to have those positions would, in addition to the 9 that we have, would be like the perfect scenario for us to basically get just back to capacity.
What's the number of capacity?
Well, we're down 9. I would have to refer back to what the total number is.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, we're down 9.
We're down 9 based on what our full-time number is, of what we've basically been allocated within our budget of full-time people. And I did bring those notes because I didn't think that we were gonna discuss that part of it. I thought we were just discussing this grant. As far as this grant goes, this grant could be utilized to be able to supplement on those 9 positions. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in addition to, because we've been down X number of deputies for quite some time. And in this scenario here, our first year match would be $113,000. Federal match would be $340,000. Second year would be $116,000. And the federal match would be $348,000, and then the final third year would be, our share would be $415,000, and they would cover $60,000. So basically, you're looking at, $750,000 that we are able to get. No different than the ARPA grant that we got. That by the end of this year, the county will have absorbed approximately $1.1 to $1.2 million in dollars that have come back to the general fund, that we have kept such tight reins on our budget that we've never made a request last year, nor are we going to make a request this year for those dollars. So there's $1.2 million that, when we originally came to apply for this, the thought process was we basically are going to do a $1.2 million, receiving from the ARPA style, but in reality, county never really paid that 1.2 out to us because we've never used it. It's come into the general fund, but it has never been transferred back to the sheriff's office. So we just finished our fourth quarter receivable, and I believe that was like $225,000 last week for the fourth quarter payment. We should exceed, easily $600,000 this year. So we're basically going to be getting, when it's all said and done, we'll have between $1.1 to $1.2 million. But the reality is this: is as those officers are still with us, the attrition of what we're losing, we don't have any need for it, and no different than this grant here. There's money sitting on the table, as Commissioner Tinlin stated. There's money on the table that we basically could have $750,000, and unfortunately, we would have been in the same situation that we passed up. Probably 3/4. Actually, the last run would have actually given us more if it would have been approved. That we basically gave away close to $1 million last year that we would have been able to use, that we would have been able to probably qualify for. So at the end of the day, I look at this as an opportunity that we're trying our best, as we're continuously criticized by the commissioners of overspending. We're trying our best to be able to bring money back to the county. Perfect example is we, through that last grant, we'll bring in close to $1.2 million that was never put back into our system because we didn't need to.
I got a question on that. What are we talking about?
Well,
I'm not familiar with this 1.2.
So we're kind of just getting that straightened out. So it was never certified as a separate grant, like we just did that. So now we're actually, the expenses have been funded by the general fund. Now we're moving them off of the general fund onto the grant to make it right, to get the grant.
Aren't we supposed to be doing the grant as we pay, we utilize it?
Yeah,
But
so
there'll
we're-
be a surplus at the end.
Why didn't we do it as
on our side.
we went?
It was never created that
I
way
can answer that.
within this office. We applied, they never created the fund correctly to do that.
No, we created the fund.
No,
Where
the fund
the
was-
distribution wasn't
The
where
certification was never done.
for the funds to be transferred out of that fund.
When was this done?
Last
year?
Probably
Yeah.
fall.
That's the one I've been asking about, and you said
Well, it
that,
would have
hey,
been
we can't
actually
get
in
their finance person to do it. We need it.
22, at the fall of 22 is when it would have been approved. Of going into 23.
Well, I think it was last year.
Right, because we would have 23, they had a look back all the way that could have started in June of 2022.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, it could have gone
it
back
could
to
have-
twenty-two, but it did not come in till
Right.
twenty-three.
Till 23.
But, so, okay, I'm confused still. I apologize. So, what was this grant for?
The EMA ARPA,
Oh, the EMA, for the eight.
that was for 8 deputies.
Yes.
Okay, so we created a separate fund, which is what we're doing, so we can track.
And we're just delayed on we just got it certified, and they're delayed on getting the budget set up to actually do the expense corrections, to move the expenses off of the general fund into the grant.
Okay.
It's just it's
And it's,
delayed
delay
setup.
is for us or for their finance person?
So basically, we paid for that since we didn't use, it wasn't certified funds
It
to
was-
use.
yeah, up to
So
this point.
basically, it's just reimbursing us back for what we paid for them. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right, it's
Yes.
freeing
Okay.
up, it's freeing up the budget that
Did
was
you
being
turn
taken
money
out.
back in this year? First thing?
Yeah, I heard it was 500,000, but they came back and asked for 400. So for the
I don't-
radios and stuff.
yeah, I'm not
That numbers
sure.
that never made any sense. I've heard them. The 500, we returned 500,000, but then in
We're not
October, we
seeing
came to
that.
440,000. We
We
were short.
returned almost $500,000.
That's the number that I've heard.
Right.
And I've also heard then in October, November, for the radios for the jail, and we wanted $440,000 for
We
that.
didn't do any radios in the jail.
I know we didn't, because we rejected that, but that was the ask, when you guys, I heard we gave back 500,000.
Right.
I saw we requested another 440,000, which part of we rejected because we bought the radios and they were utilized someplace else.
Yeah, I think you're mistaken. I think that
Normally I
difference-
am.
That difference was for the cameras that you guys agreed to do.
In the first request, the cameras in the jail, but the request was 440,000.
Yeah, I think that was for the jail medical.
Well, no, that's a separate issue. That was asked, do you check, that was 700 and some thousand, do you check UH? And Ron said, why would we do that? And it turns out when we checked, they double billed us for multiple things. So we're totally two separate issues.
They didn't double bill us,
They did, on a bunch of things.
but they didn't double bill us. What they did was they basically, when we originally went with them in 24, when the commissioners signed that agreement with UH, the final bill for 2023, or correction, for 2022, came due in 2023 that was not budgeted for. Because we can't control, we don't know what that number is
And
going
that-
to be on an annual basis.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
Right.
But as we went
So it
back
wasn't
and
that they
checked,
double billed
right,
us.
there were many errors in that bill that was 750,000. for
I'd
medical.
like to
So
see
there were
that
errors.
because,
Mhm.
in which we spoke with Ron about.
Mhm.
We could meet with Ron again if he would like.
No, the
But,
question is there was adjustments to that bill. Ron said he didn't check what they were doing in session. And then we were told that there were errors in there, multiple errors.
There were errors,
Mhm.
there were errors, and this was discussed in open session several months back.
Mhm.
I'm not, I didn't
No,
know
I'm just
we were
asking.
going
Right,
that
so
today.
I'm just saying the chief is saying, no, there weren't a bunch of errors in there. And as
I'm
we
saying there
look-
wasn't double billing that
Well, there are multiple
400
errors.
some thousand was not a double bill.
There was multiple errors for that 750,000.
500 left over or turned back in?
So I guess,
So the difference between the original budget and the revised budget was about 1.5. I wasn't prepared with these
Mhm.
numbers, but it was like maybe 1.5 million additional that we gave. So of that,
Of the
there was
additional that
about
we
there was
gave.
about $500,000 unused.
But we had increased it, so it's
Right.
not really, they gave us anything back per
Yeah, I
se,
don't
because
have the
we
exact
increased
numbers.
it
Okay.
above and beyond. Okay, so there's where I think it's on how you deliver that, because we
Okay.
funded them over.
So we're
Okay.
back to the grant application.
Yep.
So anyways, Ralph, so you have 9 vacancies now, and then you're applying for 6 additional.
That could be used towards
Position.
that 9 vacancies.
So how do we do that so that we don't fill 9 vacancies and then we've got 6 more coming on? Because we've already funded the 9 vacancies. So when,
It's real simple. If you guys want $750,000 for this grant, accept it. If you don't want $750,000 and you want to fund it out of the general fund, then say no. It's just that simple. Because what the wording on the grant is it doesn't require us to put additional. We could use it for the vacancies that we have. So this comes down to simple finance. You either want 750 or you don't. So we're beating this drum that makes no sense to me, because we basically are presenting this to say, we're giving you a gift of $750,000 over 3 years that's available. And we've done a lot of work to bring this to the board. And if you want that, I guess you say yes. If you don't, you say no. It's just that simple.
So the idea that we wouldn't have to add additional.
Correct.
Does that mean the match? Is that,
That's,
I mean, I've heard that we might not have to supply the match, like what, but I thought that
Well,
was.
we
under,
wouldn't- we
under
would
the
have the
attrition
money
rule, if we basically have it so that we basically are stating that it's through attrition that we have to fulfill this, that we can't fulfill this grant, but we basically have the ability that we have a shortage of officers, and according to the wording that the grant states, that we could use it for the positions that we don't have.
so, we just need to make sure that that's the way it's set up, because then again, if you've got 9 vacancies and you're saying, if you get this, you can use 6 of these towards the 9 that you have that we've already funded. You
Yes.
would not have any out-of-pocket match because it's already included in the budget.
So essentially, it's not growing the staff.
No,
It's, right.
it's help funding.
It's no different than almost the $1.2 million that you guys basically have received into the general fund off of the ARPA grant, that though you guys are paying it out of there, it's coming back to you on the other side. So at the end of the day, those dollars there has not been a demand to having the additional money transferred. We have not requested it once to say, we have to do this because we don't have numbers to match it. We have more than stayed within our budget to be able to afford those people without ever having to pull on that money. So in reality, if you get this grant over the course of 3 years, or
Ralph.
4 years, it'll be almost $2 million of dollars inserted into
So-
the general fund.
So, we haven't drawn down on the grant until now, right? So.
We've been drawing down on it, we just haven't been moving the expenses to match, you know.
To match it. So, Ralph, where do you think that money came from? Where do you think that money came to
Out of
pay
our
this?
original, out of our original budget.
And where does that come from?
It comes from the general fund.
Exactly.
Right.
So when you say we gave you 1.2, no, it's not you gave us. We basically got a grant
Correct.
that we haven't drawn down on, but because it wasn't certified. But now we're starting to draw down. So it's not that you gave us 1.2. We're just basically reimbursing ourselves for the grant money that
I'm not saying
you
that
got.
that we're giving you. The county has received they will receive by the end of the year almost $1.2 million. Out of that $1.2 million, because of our shortages and because of where we are standing with manpower right now,
Yeah.
we have never had to really draw that difference. So what we operated within our budget, we will actually have a surplus at the end. That 1 point, though it's being paid out of that fund because that's the way that it's stated to be done, those dollars truly are still within the general fund of having that additional 1.1 to 1.2 million dollars, however it shakes out at the end, that the general fund has. The original thought when we did this is that we would have had our budget and we would have had those additional 1.2 2 million bucks that we would have had to pay, that we would have basically been at 0 on our budget, we would have been 0 on the 1.2. But fortunately, in one way, not fortunate on the other of manpower situation, we were in a situation where the county, at the end of this 2-year term, will have that $1.2 of that grant in the general fund that truly, in one way or another, has not been touched.
I'm not gonna micromanage our sheriff, and for safety purposes, my recommendation is that we go ahead and file for the grant.
Mike, I don't think it's micromanaging the sheriff. I think we have a due diligence.
I know my
as a
due
county
diligence.
commissioner,
I get it.
and we have to
And I'm not gonna argue with you about
verify.
it.
Well, when
I
you're
get
saying
it.
we're micromanaging, let me
Well,
just correct you there.
It's happening. Well, you can correct me, but that's how I feel.
And I can't follow the bouncy ball. I ask a question.
So,
I can follow that because it's not gonna go where I think it's gonna go. It's, Ralph, it just goes down to the basic questions that you say. How many deputies do we have? How many deputies do we need? That, for 3 years, we've asked that over and over and over, and you guys have chosen never to give a number. I think that started some pretty significant disagreements.
I don't think that's a fair statement.
What isn't fair state? How many deputies do you need? I asked it the last 2.5 years. How many deputies does Portage County Sheriff's Department need? We are patrolling places we shouldn't be, so we're using deputies in places
Are
that
we
by
out of
the
our
ORC
jurisdiction? Are we
Yeah.
out of Portage County?
Yeah, I don't know. You read the ORC, and the last time that any action was taken about patrol was in Geauga County in 2003.
In what way? What are we
How-
talking about?
I'm asking, we'll go back to the question. How many deputies do we need to do the duties of the sheriff? In patrol, right? Patrol is a priority that we have apparently placed it, nor is it patrolling the turnpike, which is not our jurisdiction.
It's within the it's within
It's
the
in the
confines
state,
of Portage County.
and there are 9 other counties in the
Here's what
jurisdiction.
I would tell you is
It is not.
I guess you could request the prosecutor's information and ruling on that if the turnpike is within the county of Portage.
I know it is.
To be able to legally enforce laws on that jurisdiction. And the
No.
answer is probably gonna be yes, but I would ask you to ask him
It was,
yourself.
he said behind you. It is the jurisdiction, it is in the turnpike, state of Ohio's turnpike, I-80, is in 10 counties straight across the state of Ohio. It is not patrolled, they're called state troopers. They patrol that, that's their responsibility. If you look at what when Geauga County sued the sheriff's department, it said, patrol is not your job. That's what the ORC says, and I've complimented you before because you told me to read that multiple times, and I have. And that is one of the areas that we're getting more guys on road, but that's not what the duties are.
Well, and I think this is pretty, I think this probably goes right back to, the fact that you lost the election.
No.
Because you basically are, the people in the townships disagree with what you're saying. They want police protection.
And when I took
And when they
office,
pick up the phone and dial 911, they want somebody to respond.
and from what I've understood is that the gentleman for the drug PACE unit, if they're on the freeway, Ravenna still is backing them up when there's a patrol car, and the deputy's saying, hey, we can't.
How are we
go
getting to
someplace
this
else."
from the grant?
Because how many deputies do
I think
you
at this
need?
point in time, we basically know that we have 9 deputies that we're down. A lot of those deputies that we're down is based on the fact that you make your comments out there, and you have basically continued to say that our deputies are not gonna get raises under your watch, our
Nobody
deputies
said
this,
that.
our deputies
Nobody
that.
said that, Ralph.
You've got
You haven't
Commissioner
brought the
Bennett that's
contract.
basically continuously, throwing our deputies under the bus
No.
with their educational levels, all those different things that have caused our deputies to have a sour taste in their mouth and a concern to probably leave. And when they could go to other departments for $25,000 more a year and also obtain a signing bonus between $5,000 to $10,000, what do you think they're going to do? It's a quality of life.
I don't think the commissioners have that much to do with the
Well,
lack of
I
deputies.
disagree.
So do I.
We're working outside of a contract, and we've been for how long?
I don't know,
And
you
what
didn't
have
bring
your
one.
comments been about the contract?
I haven't seen the contract.
Okay.
Have you?
Here's the
Do
thing.
you have a contract?
We're in the
You
process of
changed the
trying to
subject here.
negotiate.
I'm going back to how many deputies does the sheriff department of Portage County
So I will
need
stay
to have
with
a
this.
full contingency?
At this point in time, what we would like to do is just get back to what we originally discussed in that meeting when you had accused our sheriff of overspending the budget, and you found out that you had been given wrong information, and you never said anything publicly about it, as you were asked to do. But that day and time, we basically said that this was the number of deputies that we had. The number of deputies that we agreed upon would be us getting to the 9 deputies that we are down. So I guess the answer to your question right now is, for today's date and time, is for us to basically get back to the 9 deputies and hopefully fill those vacancy positions. I'm here trying to assist the county commissioners with this grant that would also assist you guys in paying them for the next 3 years. That would basically give you guys additional $750,000 towards that number. So it's just that simple.
The simplicity is I could get an answer of how many deputies we need in Portage County. It is simple, you not speaking the truth, that there are other issues that are causing deputies to leave Portage County. And it's not the Board of Commissioners.
Can we do a point of order and go back to the application?
So we could take a vote on the application. Do we have a motion?
So, well, I just have one more question. And this I do need to know. So with these grants, a lot of times it's to add additional staffing, okay? But what I'm hearing you say is you can use these 6 to replace the vacancies
Yes, we can.
that you already have in the position.
Yes.
And so that's what I need verified, and then I would be fine with moving forward with the application to apply for it. And like you said, if we receive the award and by the time the award comes, we need to have information. We need to know how many deputies, the questions Tony asked, but I need for clarification just that can be done, because I know a lot of times it can't. So it's for additional people on top of what you currently had, because on the application, you would have had to give them the number of deputies that you currently have. Even with vacancies, you have to normally tell them how many deputies that your department currently has, whether they're staffed or not, and then this would be additional. So that's the only thing I need clarification on, and then I'm okay with applying for it. But I think I need that verified, and then I'm sure Commissioner Badalamenti would like his 2 questions answered. And then if we could get that, I think we could bring it back next week, still be in time to apply.
I don't know what is the deadline on this?
I thought it was early June, around the 1st of
Okay.
June, but I
Okay,
can
so
check
Ralph,
with
do you think
Krista.
we can get that and then get the application so we
can
can
check the
double check
application.
and just
Yeah.
make sure we
Okay.
know?
I'll check
And
the
then-
application, I can bring the resolution.
And I guess
yes.
I just go back to what, Commissioner Tinlin said, that this is the application process. So it's just,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, we'll bring
So
that
can
one
we
have
get
that
that
information
information and then we can bring it back on the agenda next?
What I'll do is I will get with Krista, and I will have her contact Jackie, and then Jackie
Okay.
can relay the message, because I don't think
Okay.
that there's
Well, I
a need that I
appreciate
have
that.
to be here to,
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll answer
Be
the
able to do
questions and
that,
I'll bring the
so.
resolution.
yeah, and as like
Yeah.
that, I'm fine with it.
okay,
Sounds good.
all right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so.
Journal entries, please.
I have one more discussion item.
Okay.
So it's about the Guardianship Service Board funding request. So Guardianship Service Board came and did that really nice presentation last week. And the request was for a match to the MHRB and PCDD contributions of $94,500. So if the board was, you know, deciding they wanted to move forward with this, then we could discuss the different funding options. So we have contingency in the general fund. We also have the sales and use tax fund, and I can give you the contingency list. The contingency was, as the board will recall, was kind of slated for other things, so we'd have to kind of adjust this.
Is it 94,000 that two other organizations gave 94,000 to it?
94.5.
Right, yeah.
Yes, so MHRB and PCDD gave 94.5.
And we gave last time
Nothing.
Last year we gave
nothing?
No, cause it's only been in place for what, a little over a year, Diana?
That's good.
Diana's here, cause I have a couple questions on it. First of all, I remember when Judge Smith first approached us, she said that she was gonna do this. We had her come in, and I think you came with her, and you talked about it and how it's gonna go and stuff. But the main thing she said is, and good news is, we don't need any money for it. So, I recall that very vaguely, and so, or distinctly, I should say. And in January 2022, Judge Smith came to us to open up a special project fund, and for the probate court. And at the time, she was hoping to build up enough funding to complete two projects: the adult guardianship program and the assisted outpatient treatment program. As a matter of fact, she assessed an additional $20 on all her cases to go into this special projects fund. So my question is, when I look at the sources for funding, Diana, that you did a real good job on, I see DD, I see mental health, I see in-kind for the court. So can you explain to me what the in-kind is?
Yes, Your Honor. With respect to the in-kind services, we didn't have to hire an accountant or any accounting services. All of those financial services are provided through the court's fiscal officer. And then the court has also, to the extent that our wards are indigent, and a lot of them are, so when they need a court-appointed attorney or something of that nature, that comes out of the court's indigency fund. That's not anything that we would pay. And then that's primarily it. Some of the other bailiff services and things like that are part of the court services. The IT services, for example, we didn't have to hire IT people to set up our computers and do all that IT work. That was done through the court's IT staff.
Okay. And so, my question is, I don't see anywhere on here where any of the funding from the special fund has contributed to this guardianship board, but I do see JFS, which is under us,
Yes.
is contributing $34,000. And so my question is, what happened to the special fund, project fund, that the intention was to help fund the guardianship?
And respectfully, Judge, that was, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's
That's,
okay.
that's before I came on board. I think it was probably Court Administrator Jekin Yessi that would have accompanied Judge Smith when she spoke with you about it. So, because the probate court is separate and apart from the guardianship service fund, we're not part of the probate court, we're a separate county agency. I'm not sure what discussion that she had with you or how that fund is utilized, because I don't have any direct involvement in that, so I apologize for that. I can certainly ask Judge Smith what's in the fund and how it's allocated, but that was not something that was discussed with me in connection with the Guardianship Service Board, so I'm not aware of it. With respect to the JFS funds, when we had approached Kelly Jo, it was because we'd gotten about a dozen referrals from Adult Protective Services, and as I explained to her, her investigators have this caseload and do this work, and then when we step in and we're appointed guardian, then they're able to take those cases off of their hands and hand them over to us. And I had asked for funding support to help provide half of the salary to bring on a new caseworker for this year, and that's what the $34,000 was. So when we're looking forward and we're looking at paying the other half of that caseworker salary and then bringing on a new caseworker, that's the funding that we've asked from the commissioners to match that provided by DD and mental health, because we're projecting that, we have to cover the other half of that salary going into 2025. And as I mentioned to you, by the end of this month, we're gonna be up to 40 wards that we've been assigned. The growth was phenomenal in this first year, and I don't think Judge Smith or any of us was expecting the demand. And I'm sure, the sheriff probably knows, there's a lot of people that need guardianships because, they don't have any other people that can step in and help them with those responsibilities. And so, the reason that, my board asked us to approach the Board of Commissioners to do the matching funds was because we anticipated what was gonna be coming to us, in the next year, that we already have our caseworkers allocated for the 40 cases that we've got. I hope that explains.
Yeah. Well, I just wanna say, I appreciate everything you guys do, and like I said, but to come to us for a $94,500 match, I mean, that was unexpected. And when we were told, when this first started, the good news was, we didn't need to contribute to this, and now we're being asked to match DD and mental health. It is a little concerning for me, especially because we have all these other projects that were slated. And understand, everyone wants a special program, wants a special project, wants a new courthouse, but at the end of the day, we have to be able to manage the entire county. We have unfunded mandates that we have to contribute to. I mean, and like I said, and everyone comes to us in a silo, and everyone's doing great things, by all means. But we do have a budget that we have to stay within. And so, that's all I wanted to say.
Ma'am?
Tony, go
Good.
ahead, Diana.
I completely understand where you're coming from,
Yeah.
and as a taxpayer in this county,
Yes.
I appreciate the fiscal responsibilities that you have to deal with on a daily basis. It was not anticipated that there would be such a need of incapacitated adults in this county that would already put us at a caseload of 40 after just 12 months. And so we're just faced with the dilemma, going forward, we've already got 2 caseworkers that each have 20 cases assigned to them, and our projected caseload is 20 per caseworker. The referrals aren't gonna stop. Since we met with you, we got 2 more referrals since last week. And so the reality is, we're either gonna have to have each caseworker carrying, 30, 40 cases each, or we're gonna have to turn people away, in which case they're just gonna continue to be under Adult Protective Services investigators' caseloads.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just the reality. I think until this program opened up, nobody fully appreciated, and Judge Smith didn't fully appreciate what the influx would be from nursing homes, from public agencies,
Sure.
from Coleman, as to how many people were in need of guardianship, and otherwise, they can't be adequately protected.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, it's not to discount what you're doing. Again, there's only so much money to go around, and so that's my only comment.
So the thought is that what you just said, the likelihood of this doubling this year is probably pretty close.
We're thinking another, based on what we received in the last 12 months, probably another 20 to 30. We've been averaging 4 referrals per month. So, and obviously we will lose some wards along the way because I have 2 in hospice now, but nevertheless, that kind of offsets each other. But that's what we projected. I mean, if that changes, in the next 6 months, then obviously I would let you know that, but.
So in this very, I think, pretty cool program, is there grants that are available to this type of service?
Well, and I'm sure Jackie probably appreciates this too, grants mostly are not for ongoing operational expenses, but usually to set up, like an expansion of a program or an addition of a new facet of a program. And because ours predominantly goes to, as I mentioned, we have a very lean operation, most of our money just goes for the salaries and benefits involved, because we get our space given to us, our offices, by Neighborhood Development Services. So I have looked at grant funds, and I haven't been able to identify any grant funds that would help support, you know, those kinds of operations. And we work with the other GSBs in the state, so we have a monthly meeting and we all talk to each other and we all share funding sources. And that's why I had shared that chart with you during my presentation, so you could see how the other GSBs get funded.
Is everybody else growing as quickly as we have? All the other organizations?
There's only 6 counties that
Six-
have
there's six,
this.
yeah.
Well,
There's
there's,
6.
yeah, and actually 2 more GSBs are coming on board this year, so Franklin's been operating for what, 6 years, 8 years? They've got almost 500 cases, just under 500 cases.
How do they fund themselves? If we have 20 cases and we're looking at 200,000 or 300,000, yeah.
Right.
How does Franklin County support 500 cases?
Right, and on that chart, it indicated that 3 of the counties were funded in part by the Board of Commissioners. Union County that's coming on this year is also gonna receive partial funding from the Board of Commissioners. All of us receive substantial contributions from the mental health and DD boards in the respective counties. So, you know, it's a little tailored because of that.
Do you know the percentage that these other counties the Board of Commissioners are supporting?
I know with
Supporting that?
Delaware County, it's evenly funded by DDMH and the Board of Commissioners. Franklin has a substantial contribution from their Board of Commissioners, but I don't know percentage-wise what that is. But you've got the
Yeah,
chart from the last presentation.
I just thought it would be good to have verbalized this.
Understood, yeah.
Okay.
And Diana,
Yes,
have
ma'am.
you guys applied to United Way? Because I see on here that's one of the optional funding sources.
I did make the inquiry to United Way. The way they structure their grants each year is it's for a specific identified purpose. And for the 2024 funding cycle, the specific identified purpose that their grant funds were designated for did not fall into a category that would cover services that we provide. It was more on food services type funding, grants for that purpose. So
Okay.
they suggested that maybe next year we might be able to fit into one of their categories. But the maximum amount for the grants that have been available to other counties that applied was $10,000, which is the same amount that we get from Direction Home.
So what about the hospital and medical centers? I see that's also a big funder for some of the other ones.
Apparently in Franklin County, they get a lot of hospital referrals. I mean, it's so large. But, so what they did was work out a contract for funding so that, I think they get like $8,000 for each patient that they end up referring that is in need of guardianship services. We just don't have that volume of funding from hospitals where I could have, a matter of fact, I don't think I've gotten any referrals from UH that would support that in this county.
Okay. So just to go back to the question that Commissioner Badalamenti asked about grants
Yes.
for funding, have you guys applied for any grants?
We haven't applied for any grants because I didn't
Can't
find
find
any
any.
plans that were applicable for our funding needs. I did make an inquiry with County Prosecutor Chris Maduri about how we would apply for it since we are a county agency, and he suggested that we would use the county's EIN for doing it. So we did all the groundwork to determine how we would approach that. I just didn't find any applicable state or county grants or foundation grants that we could pursue.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Jackie, back to you.
Okay, so, as we were saying, we have the options of the contingency possibly, or the sales and use tax fund, or, I don't know if you want me to, research a little more with Judge Smith and her office about the probate court
The
special
special
projects
fund,
fund.
yeah, because
I mean,
the-
it's about, I would say by
It
the
was
end of the year, there's about
specifically
$30,000
spelled out
balance.
that's what she was hoping to fund.
And yeah, I
is-
believe it can be for special projects, so I can
Yeah,
find out.
it
what
can
the
be, because
intention is.
I have the resolution that we passed to create that fund, cause probate never had, a special project fund until Judge Smith brought it forward, so.
Right now, it doesn't look like it would fund that size of a request.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, if you take out what they've planned already, they'll probably have about $30,000 in there,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
So we'll table this and then find a little bit more information.
Yeah, I can investigate this a little bit more and bring back all the information. Okay.
I hate to do this, but can we
Thank you.
take a 5-minute recess before public comment?
Yes.
That's sure.
I like 3-minute recess.
3 minutes.
Till 11.
Okay, right, yep, right.
So I just.
Yeah.
I'll adjourn.
And I have that resolution.
See, I highlighted what you
Age smile.
said.
That was good.
Clear light.
Okay,
Hey, we'll
reconvene.
Okay.
Is there any public comment?
Not that I am aware.
All right, hearing none?
Journal entries?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners sign the satisfaction of mortgage for Julia Gambella for $21,983 on the property at 6554 Cherry Lane, Kent, Ohio, 44240, as requested by Neighborhood Development Services, documents reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners sign the satisfaction of mortgage for Julia Gambella for $5,355 on the property at 6554 Cherry Lane, Kent, Ohio, as requested by Neighborhood Development Services, documents reviewed by Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners signed the satisfaction mortgage for Julie Gambella for $2,056 on property at 6554 Cherry Lane, Kent, Ohio, 44240, as requested by Neighborhood Development Services, documents reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Okay, in accordance with section 305.30K of the Ohio Revised Code and this board's resolution number 21-0396 and the board's resolution 21-0878, the Board of Commissioners acknowledges and approves the county administrator's approval to direct the auditor's office to pay process the May 9th, 2024 bills, ACH payments, wires, journal vouchers, and then and nows as applicable, contingent upon the verification of the reports as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to process the May 9th, 2024 budget amendments as reviewed and recommended by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to create fund for 269 Pioneer Trail Bridge replacement for the Portage County Engineer's Office.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to transfer from Fund 1415, Child Welfare Special Levy Fund, to Fund 1410, Public Assistance Fund.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to declare the necessity to purchase one vehicle for the use by the Portage County Solid Waste Management District.
I'm gonna second to also add that it is being purchased within the county.
Okay? Roll call?
Do you approve that? You say
Yeah,
yes?
he did. He
Okay,
seconded
roll
it.
call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
All right. I'll make a motion to amend resolution number 24-0050, adopted January 6, 2024, authorizing to enter into an agreement between the Portage County Common Pleas and Municipal Courts, the Portage County Adult Probation Department, and the Portage County Board of Commissioners and Mid-American Courts Services, LLC.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. And now we got Judge.
Judge Alito, good morning.
Good morning.
You're up, ma'am.
Okay.
How are you this morning?
Well, how are you?
Good.
Judge asked me to join her if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
We like seeing you too.
I know.
Don't wanna mess up the computer system here. Although this is cool.
No, that stays.
Okay. I can't take it with me.
Are you trying to sell it?
She was
This
trying
is
to give
cool.
it away. It's a clicker for the screen.
Trying to sell our clicker.
So good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Ready?
You're up, please.
Thank you. So, may it please the board, thank you for your time that you're affording me this morning. We have been having conversations now for almost the last 3 years about the needs of the users of the Portage County Domestic Relations Court. In fact, in the cover letter that I sent you on April 24th, I kind of detailed some of the major events and things that have transpired over the course of the last 2.5, 3 years in our endeavors to have cooperative efforts to address these issues. As you are aware, back in September 2021,
the Board of Commissioners authorized a feasibility study. At that point in time, there were needs addressed, or there were needs identified of the domestic relations court that we did not have safe space. We did not have sufficient space. It was not reasonable, it was not appropriate. There was a feasibility study done. Ultimately, that project did not move forward. I would indicate that that feasibility study not only encompassed some issues that the domestic relations court was having spatially and security-wise, but also the probate court. The Board of Commissioners did set aside significant funding to address the probate court's needs, several $100,000, and those renovations have now been completed. In April 2022, this board issued a letter. I have a copy of it here, if you need it, April 21st, indicating that providing adequate and sufficient accommodations to the Portage County Domestic Relations Court to ensure the efficient and effective administration of justice is a priority need in Portage County. That letter also recognized that the existing space that we occupied no longer met the needs of the court. And by the needs of the court, it's not the court, it's the users of the court. That's what we're talking about. Citizens of Portage County, citizens of other counties who come to transact business and expect justice in my court. Although we've had significant conversations, no resolution, no feasible resolution, reasonable space accommodations that were able to be found. In July 2023, the Supreme Court of Ohio Security Services Manager authored a consulting and recommendations report which reiterated many of the already known and acknowledged safety concerns in the court. We still had no positive movement forward, no true plan to address the issue. After lots of conversations with this board, wisely, we endeavored to work together to try to really identify what the domestic relations court's needs were. What did the users of the court need? What type of space did we need? How do we address the security issues? So we enlisted the services of the National Center of State Courts to conduct a needs assessment report. The preliminary report from the NCSC was provided to this board on February 16th of 2024. The final report was authored and issued, and then I forwarded it to this board on April 24th, 2024, so a little bit less than a month ago. In that report, there was a finding that our space was unsafe for its users, poses ADA violations that cannot be rectified because of the spatial limitations of our court. And identified a whole host of other security issues that perhaps I won't go on the record here with, but they are all contained within the +39 page report that you all have. And so, I believe we've had some pretty spirited conversations in the past about addressing this problem. You had suggested I look at the old NDS building, which was approximately 12,000 square feet, and that's, I did not believe that was sufficient. Dr. Battlemente, you had indicated to me, well, how much space do you need? Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm not quite sure. I gave it my best stab. Obviously, I am not an architect, and I am not a spatial layout type of a person. I'm a judge, but I knew 12,000 wasn't sufficient. The NCSC report indicates that extracting the domestic court and the services that go with it, clerk, security, hallways, elevators, holding, things like that, that we would need approximately 33,833 square feet. However, as the report further delineates, depending on the blocking and the layout, the architectural design, it could be less than that, 32,000, not significantly less, but in that ballpark. It is the recommendation of NCSC that we move forward, potentially explore a standalone domestic relations court. I humbly submit to you that the individuals who have needs to be addressed by the Portage County Domestic Relations Court are significant. Our court has an ever-increasing caseload of domestic violence cases. Security, safety, reasonable space, appropriate space is a need. When we were together in October, you had asked me about what the cost would be. And I indicated I had called Greg Chaplin at Haas and Staub. They were the folks who did the feasibility study, so that was my only resource. I reached out to him in October, reported back to you. I reached out to him again in preparation of today's meetings. His information did not really change. He still indicates that between $500 and $600 per square foot would be reasonable. He said $700 would be very, very safe. And that would include architectural design and CM, construction manager charges. And so I bring that to you as a cost estimate. I am requesting that this board approve in the letter. I put forth 3 requests. Before I get to those requests, I would indicate again for the record that the Board of Commissioners is under a statutory duty to provide safe and appropriate housing for the court. I would suggest that the current housing for the Domestic Relations Court is neither at this point and hasn't been for a while.
I'd like to
Through no fault
interrupt
of
you
this
for a
board.
second.
Sure.
Respectfully, Judge, I think our administrator can vouch for me. There isn't a day go by I'm not out looking for a property. Not a day. I'm calling her saying, hey, I got this lease company, call them, or I have this property company, call them. And, you know, I can only speak for myself. There's 3 of us. Am I aware that there's a problem up there? Yeah, I came up and looked at it with you.
You did.
I wasn't here a month on the job, and it was of importance to me, and I get it. I went up, I saw, and I don't think, and this time I will speak, I don't think there's any of us that don't get it. I get it. The worst thing for me would be to know someone did get hurt in a situation in the court. I understand. My dilemma is that we showed you a couple buildings.
Show me one.
And,
NDS.
And we only showed one.
Okay.
Only showed Intelligence.
We looked at the courthouse in Kent and.
yeah, well, we looked at, yeah.
That was specifically spec'd out and built for the Portage County Municipal Court.
Yeah, but the space downstairs that we
Oh.
can't get to.
Oh.
But yeah,
Okay.
because that.
But we've looked at, we've
You've
been.
looked at-
we've
okay.
looked
We called a
at
couple other projects.
Sure.
Yeah, we've been
You all have.
looking.
Okay, sure.
doing, you know I have, and I know they have as well, but, all I can say is we're trying. Your needs assessment is just that, it's a needs assessment, and it's explaining what issues occur, what needs to be done, to make everything all better, and I get it. I'm there with you. I just don't know where we're gonna find the cash to do it. That's my opinion. To put in a new building, my opinion, and I think everyone else has kind of discussed it, and I have truly not spoke to them individually about it. We've all done it here, is to find something and revamp and make it right. And I have zeroed in on one that I've been working on for about 3 weeks now. It will be phenomenal. However, you know what it's like trying to get calls back from companies in New York or New Jersey that are leasing
May I
buildings.
inquire what the property is that you've been looking at for?
Not yet,
Oh.
because I haven't even spoke to them.
Well, so I would indicate, I don't know if you're talking about the old grocery store,
No.
the Tops
No, it's
building.
under contract.
That's under contract for
Okay.
5 years.
Okay. I did actually look at that building, because it came up in casual conversation. I took NCSC down to that site, because it's a big building, big footprint. They had indicated, I don't know, is that me?
No.
Okay. They had indicated to me that accessibility for the users of the court is also very important. and that logistically was more than a mile away, and that the purchase and renovation cost of that building would probably far exceed construction cost. So I did want to put that on the table because you all did suggest the Tops building. I'm not sure where the location is of the building that you are looking at. I did talk to Hassenstab. The 3 requests in my letter is that you approve basically moving forward with the plan and actions aligned with constructing a standalone domestic relations court. I'm asking that you immediately approve the authorization and solicitation of bids for an architectural design of a new building. And I, thirdly, but tying back to your point, am asking that you approve the use of the F lot. And let me tell you about why I am making these requests for new construction versus renovation. I don't know the building that you are looking at, but in dealing with the NCSC, is it possible to renovate buildings? Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Is it possible to renovate existing structures that are not courthouses and make them courthouses? Probably, but it ends up being very expensive because courthouses are different. They have different requirements, what can be next to it. For example, NDS, the buildings abut each other, right? So the Supreme Court Security Safety Protocols say that courthouses should be kind of standalone-ish. They should have a buffer, a security buffer around it. If you'll notice, the main courthouse in Kent and the courthouse here in Ravenna, there's clearance around the building. So, Mr. Tillman, and actually all of you, while you're looking at sites that might be amenable, I thank you for that. But quite frankly, you doing that without even telling me what those sites are.
Ma'am, Judge, I can read. I know what a courthouse needs.
Okay, so
I understand.
I don't mean to insult you, but if you're looking and making all those phone calls and exerting all of this effort, and then you were to present it to me, much like NDS was suggested to me, and I went and I looked at, it wouldn't have passed muster. So I just hate to have us get halfway down a path, and then there's something that would prevent that from being
NDS
viable.
wasn't the main building of mine to look at.
It was one of.
It was one that
important.
popped up.
It was one that
they
came
offered.
up,
Okay.
and it
Yeah.
was nice to look at.
Sure.
And quite frankly, I think it would have dealt with our problems for a while, but that's my opinion.
So your opinion differs from the national.
But it couldn't be
Okay.
that, yeah.
We have to fund it.
You do, and you had asked about funding options, and I think Sabrina, I'm sorry, Ms. Bennett.
You're fine.
Many years ago, when we had this conversation, I think the acknowledgement was that the general fund may have some ability to supplement part of the cost of this process, but most likely it would be a bond process because of the nature of the expense. So, I know in the past we've talked about bond funding. The county is in a very good position. Ms. Petty is behind me. They're in their favorable bond position, so if, that's you guys, that's not me. I don't wanna get outside my lane, but I understand the general fund does not have sufficient funds to do that.
I just want you to know, I'm not
Can I
forgetting
interrupt
you.
for a second?
Yeah.
I just want the board to know that we have a scheduled JDC
Mhm.
meeting at
Yes.
11:15. I didn't know if, I just wanted to let you know.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm not forgetting you. I mean, I get it, but for me to read through this and every little piece, I understand what a courts need. Believe it or not, I do.
I'm not doubting
I'm
that,
not-
but
I'm-
shouldn't this be collaborative versus, I guess that's what I'm
Not
asking.
at the starting part, Judge, not at the starting part. Because it's very easy to say, I want a new building, or why are you even looking at that? Well, I have to look at that, because I have to look at options.
I am willing to look at any option.
Okay.
Mr. Tinlin,
Mike-
I'm the one.
Mike is fine.
I'm the one who approached this board about a feasibility study. I didn't initially want a new courthouse. I just want
And that
safe
was,
space.
that was before Mike, so.
It was before Mike. And I would indicate to you that not too many months ago, I had to have a male attorney physically intervene between two
I don't
parties.
discard that. I
Well,
don't-
so I guess 2.5 years.
This is a huge ask, and so 2.5 years in my mind, I know you're uncomfortable in your space, and.
It's not me
all-
uncomfortable in
the
my
eight- Well,
space.
you have the proximity people that are in your court and the lack of space that we have. I've been through it with you, and as you said, all of us have. There's no doubt you need us to do something, no doubt. When it gets to the feasibility study, and we look at that, and it's just like, okay, minimum, it says 33.8, it's probably closer to 4 or 40.
No, it's not. It's less. I beg to differ. If you will look at the block diagramming.
Does it have a basement? Does it have storage space? I'm just looking at what would be, the courthouse in Kent that we referred to has a basement of 5,500 square feet that they're telling me we can't utilize because of the elevators. So there's more to the needs for the staff and for your chambers and your courtrooms. So there's other things that we look at. You said, hey, you've got free land, F-lot. I go by there on a regular basis. We'd have to find someplace else to put vehicles.
So let me stop you there.
Go ahead.
I don't necessarily mean the parking lot, and I apologize. There is vacant green space, and in my letter.
Between the buildings.
Between the
Parking
buildings,
lot.
that is
Yeah.
sufficient for this facility. And actually, the fact that there is an existing parking lot there is a bonus, because you wouldn't have to build a parking lot. It's already there. The land, the green space that is vacant exists. There's no purchase price, there's no demolition price, there's no price to build a parking lot. And in fact, would provide more security for those surplus vehicles that are currently housed there, because now you would have an active courthouse and you'd have traffic there.
Wouldn't it be awesome if you had a walkway into the courthouse, to the building we're talking about building? And they're behind 2 or 3 years, the city of Ravenna vacates that fire department and
Safety center.
safety center.
Yeah.
To me, that would be a perfect place. In haste of saying we've got to do something, and we have this report that validates everything that we know, and unfortunately, for circumstances based on the city of Ravenna, that would be the ideal place for this building to be. So you'd be able to go from a catwalk from this building to the present building. And that's where it's not putting you off and saying we don't believe what this report says. We all believed it prior to that. I'm just shocked at the number that they believe is that to put you uptown 3 or 4 blocks, and then in a year or two when they vacate, in likelihood that would have to be demolished, but it would be right next to the courthouse.
I am getting old, folks.
Me too. I just had a birthday.
And the older I get, the more I appreciate that there are things that we can control, and there are things that we cannot control. What the city of Ravenna does, and the pace at which they do it, is beyond our control. In a perfect world, there would be many things that I would change.
And you and I don't live in one of those.
No, we don't. And my request is not a perfect world. My request would move out the domestic relations court, which would be of benefit to the other users of the main courthouse. There has been a lot of talk about potentially needing a 3rd common pleas judge. If the domestic relations court, mediation offices, and clerk leave, that leaves space within the existing structure for that 3rd judge if it's needed before the if come what may, if the city of Ravenna decides to build and move out 10 years from now. What can we control? We can control not waiting for the city of Ravenna to act. Because realistically, folks, if they do act, we're looking at 10 years out. And I'm going to suggest to you that 10 years
Take action before that.
is an unreasonable amount of time. 2.5 years is unreasonable. Mr. Taylor, I'm happy to go look, see, explore, search, do anything.
Elevators.
But I have been told by the architects that renovating existing space would more likely than not be
It doubles. About.
So
yes.
I guess, while I appreciate your efforts to find existing space, we have existing land. And I'm asking that you consider doing that.
We are definitely considering, and because of
We're looking at
time
all
restraints,
options,
yeah.
judges,
It's
a
but
judge, to be honest.
we definitely want to help you. We definitely do.
Yeah, there's nobody here saying no.
There's
Actually-
nothing.
Then let me hear you say yes.
We can't, we're not in a
that-
position
no,
to say
can't do that yet.
yes.
But I agree to the punchline is yes would be a nice comment, but right now, we, processing this, and yes, I've read it, I did read it again, and you were correct. You don't need as many employees. I misread. So there's only 5 or 6 that you need, plus then we need deputies and all the others.
Well, there's
But
also a lot of extra costs that is beyond just the building itself. So there's a lot of things we have to digest when it comes to, it's not just building the
No,
structure.
we're not trying to blow you off.
Cause, yeah,
No, it's just not gonna happen at this moment.
When can I expect a response to the request contained in the letter?
The request for the 33,800 square feet,
The request to commit,
and we haven't,
And if then
we haven't.
we've already committed
we've
to
we've
trying
committed,
to
and we
find
still
a
are.
solution.
Do,
It's not an overnight solution.
this is a
Judge,
monster,
without
this is a
respect.
monster ask.
so I would ask, I know you're time sensitive, and I actually took a break in a trial.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Do you
I
want me to
have
go handle
request,
it?
huh?
Do you want me to go handle?
Although, so, to move forward with the plan to build a building, the plan to enlist the services of an architect, and the use of FLOT. That is my request. And
To me, FLOT, I would take off this, take right.
Not FLOT, the green space. I'm
Green
sorry.
space, the green space, okay, all right.
You would take that,
No, the FLOT, the way you said it prior was that building
Was
was gonna
that-
be an FLOT.
and I apologize.
Yeah, and that's,
That was me.
that one, that one's
Apologize.
totally off, but
Yeah.
the green
Green
space in
space.
between.
Just say
Yep, yep.
the lots next to F.
The green.
And then the Veterans Administration would
green
like a garage in your building too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a request as well. But, all right, but thank you very much for coming in, thank you for taking the time, to postponing your trial. and
When would be a
recess.
reasonable time for me to expect
We
our
have to-
next move?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do our due diligence, Judge. It's not an easy,
This is
I
the biggest
understand
request in a long time since.
yeah, I
So
mean,
But-
probably since the prosecutor's
building.
office, the jail,
Mhm.
back in 1992 and the way
Yeah.
that came to
Yeah.
fruition,
Yep.
and the Kent Municipal Court,
Mhm.
all big projects,
Huge.
necessary projects, but projects that in the end, one way or the other, were funded.
Okay,
yeah,
appreciate
but
that.
I have to take you back to Kent Courthouse. They pay that
They do.
with their fees.
Because they have tens of thousands of cases a year and they're all traffic tickets.
Hmm.
And that space, now that you bring it up, is about the same as what I'm asking for. Mine was housed 5 courtrooms, not 1.5. So it's an amazingly efficient use of the blocking diagram that they have given us.
Okay. And 900 square feet is big enough courtroom, so I don't bump in my ex.
Well, it's not bumping in, Mr. Badalamente.
Just-
It's if your ex decided to come after you, you might have a reasonable chance of being
Distance.
safe. So
Okay,
I don't have to try to
But 900 square
hop
feet is
the
big enough for
bench.
that room?
That's what's recommended by
Okay.
the National
Okay.
Center for State Courts.
Right, yeah.
A little bit bigger than the 350 I have now.
Gotcha. Excellent. All right, thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Mr. Prosecutor, thank you for coming with her.
Oh, I got some miscellaneous and an add-on, and then we'll have to adjourn so we can go into. Okay. I'll make a motion the Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the kennel disposition report and intake report for May 6, 2024 through May 12, 2024 as presented by the Chief Dog Warden.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
I'll make a motion the Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the May 13, 2024 certificate of the County Auditor that the total annual appropriations from each fund do not exceed the amended official estimate of resources for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2024 as presented by the Portage County Auditor's Office.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion the Board of Commissioners approve the April 2024 adjustments to the Portage County Water, Portage County Sewer, and Sewer billing accounts as recorded on the adjustment report submitted and reviewed by the Department of Water Resources.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept the donations to the Office of the Portage County Dog Warden.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to enter into an agreement for backup master plans examiner services for 2024 between the Board of County Commissioners and Charles Cochran doing business as Oak Group, Inc.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
No.
Tony?
Yes. Make motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes. Do we have an agenda for?
Yeah, where's our packet?
I have it here.
Thank you for. Thank you for being patient. We will convene as the Portage Yaga Joint Board of Commissioners meeting, May 16th, 2024. Journal entries. Do we have any discussion before we do journal entries?
Well, we normally, yeah, it's not like,
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
we
go
go
ahead.
through each one. I think we need to ask if anyone has any questions regarding the December 14th, meeting minutes. Is there a correction in my hearing that it's not, doesn't
No.
have one of them here that was not?
No, I had marked Commissioner Dvorak absent on the signature page, but in your packet, it should be correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
can sign that copy, it's the exact same copy.
all right.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that the Joint Board of Commissioners approves the December 14th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Roll call. Second.
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 Why
Roll
not?
call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
and James.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have the Joint Board of Commissioners acknowledgement the receipt of the December 20th, 2023 certificate of the Portage County Auditor that the total appropriations for each fund does not exceed the official estimate resources for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2024. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Ralph,
Aye.
and James.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion. The Joint Board of Commissioners acknowledges receipt of the amended official certificate of estimated resources received January 30th, 2024, the year beginning January 1st, 2024, as presented by the Portage County Budget Commission.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes?
Mike,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
and James.
Yes.
All right. Next, we have the Joint Board of Commissioners, I'll make a motion, the Joint Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the January 24th, 2024 request for financial transaction from Superintendent Jay Leeworthy.
Second?
Roll call?
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Okay, I will make a motion. The Joint Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the second, third, and fourth quarter 2023 and first quarter 2024 population per diem reports for the Joint Juvenile Detention Center.
Second?
Roll call?
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Okay, next we have a resolution. I'll make a motion for a resolution establishing regular meetings and establishing rules for the meetings of the Joint Board of County Commissioners of the Portage-Geauga District Juvenile Detention Facility.
Second?
Roll call?
Sabrina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Ralph,
Aye.
James.
Yes.
You know, it's funny, I looked and, female population from Geauga County is really none. So we need to start bringing them down and teaching our females how to act.
Education.
That's all I'm saying.
No, look at that. No, they're actually higher than the boys in Geauga. It is, if you look down at the total column, 14 males, 18 females.
Yeah, but when was that?
That, it says June 23, but it was through the year. It was
Yeah.
printed. So
Yeah.
it's for the year.
Okay, well, look at ours.
Well, maybe our girls should be given
Our
this.
girls are bad.
35.
Jay,
379 boys.
You're up for discussion, sir.
All right, I'm done, go ahead.
All right, so the, resolution 2 that we have there for you, when we were going through our budget and, going through our excess cash carryover from last year to this year, we noticed that last year, tried to decipher it, get it figured out exactly where it was, but it was an extremely high number. It was $800 and some thousand. That was excess cash carryover. So we did quite the deep dive, trying to go through the lines, see where this, money came from. What was determined was back in 2021, the money was never distributed back to the counties. So there was over $500,000 that just continued to stay in this excess cash carryover fund that wasn't given back at the percentages that we earned or that we received it at. So accompany that with this year Cummings excess cash carryover made this high number. So what we're looking to do is we have some pretty immediate needs as far as the building goes. There's 2 rooftops that need to be redone. We have our security, I discussed it last time we were here, our security system that, opens the doors for the daily operational stuff, but as well as the life safety stuff. So if there's a fire, the doors will open up, then our secondary, the staff are opening them, but tertiary, we actually utilize the keys to open those doors up. So that system is an extremely old system. It's still running on XP, and it is now obsolete, so our PCLs, which is basically just the motherboard that runs it, is no good for us anymore, because it cannot be replaced, it can't be worked on, none of those things can happen. And then lastly, on this resolution, it was in 2012, right? Right here. 2012, this board got together and increased the extra monies in the account in case something went awry, from 100,000 to 150,000. Since 2012, we haven't touched that. So I was bringing that also to the board to ask that we would now put that up to 250,000. The example why we selected that number is we have a 30-year-old building now at this point. 92 it was put together, or the construction was made and all those things took place. Our HVAC units are all from that time. They're built to not necessarily just replace, but if one of those would go down, we're looking at $500,000 to replace one of our HVAC units. Not that the 250 is going to, fix that, but accompany that maybe with our construction funds or whatever we would have there, we would be able to actually not have to create new money with the board. It's something that we already have within the budget, so we can address those oddities and those issues that we have.
So what is the total right now that's due to Geauga out of the amount?
Of that total, Randy, do you happen to have that document? Thank you.
It's not broken down that
It's,
specifically.
it's not specifically on that, so the 2021 numbers, there was 119, almost 120,000 that was Geauga's, and then the last year's is the about 40,000, so, you know.
Cause I mean, I would feel more comfortable if we would just, you know, disperse those funds back and then rework a plan of what we were gonna do as far as, you know, for additional appropriation for improvements and just make that a separate line item to be able to do that.
We can definitely do that, but the reason why we would do it this way, well, one, it's already there, it's already stuff that we have, but we have broken down those numbers already to where we have the amounts that we would need to address, so we can pull that money and then whatever's that leftover sum is what we give back to the counties after.
Yeah, but for our accounting purposes, I mean, we're not able to really reconcile correctly of what our returns are at Geauga. I would much prefer to look at this in a different view of saying, if we need X number of dollars, then we could allocate additional, but let's make each of the counties whole with what the remaining funds are to be returned, and then we can go from there.
So,
I mean, we have money that's there, that belongs to both of us.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't have a clean slate to start out with to say, you know, we've got monies that were supposed to be returned but didn't, and now we're just basically reallocating those dollars. I think let's keep this a lot cleaner for us to be able to report back to say, these are the funds that we've brought back into Geauga, now you're requesting this. If it makes sense, then we could go ahead to appropriate X number of dollars back, and then accounting wise on our side, it's gonna be a whole lot cleaner. Do you agree, Jim?
Right. It'd be a fresh look. So the explanation that Jay provided is kind of an overview that encompasses both Resolution 2 and Resolution 3. Resolution 2 is more specifically what this board did to create that unallocated monies in case we have an emergency that we don't have to create new money, so just off the top. And that's what, if you look at the
That was
cash.
in 1994 they did that, wasn't it?
The first one, and then they revised it in 12. The one of the reports that you signed off on earlier with the roll call votes, where it shows that there was the $1.1 million. The reason that that's not the number being reported by Jay here, this is the 800 some, is because 150 of that just gets set aside based on Resolution 12007. So the first ask was that instead of that being 150 because of the inflation of cost of labor and things, that moving forward, so that would be effective the first of next year, that would be up to $250,000 instead of the 100,000. And then Resolution 3 is more separately begins the construction projects that we have that are immediate needs.
so those immediate needs should have been done 21, 22?
Yeah, yes, undoubtedly. At that point, unfortunately, we didn't have the wherewithal to get that done. Now we actually have the ability, and that's where that money would come from. Of the
Is that
it's
special
in there,
in that
right?
money? It's already there.
right? And it's something that needs to be done. Undoubtedly, it just
And it was
worked
created
out
specifically
for the
this.
detention center, right? Yep.
So where were you in 21, 22?
So this took
When did you
place.
take- yeah.
So that was part of it as well. That was just at the beginning. So when I came in, those monies were already taken care of, because typically we do that at this time. I came in later. So that was overlooked during that transition period from the last administration to myself. So there was that gap of what was done, what was not, and this got overlooked as far as the actual giving of the funds back.
So you gave the funds back in 22 and
Yes.
then
Yep.
23?
Yep.
You
Yeah,
have-
this would be
yeah.
this year's funds we'd be giving back, yes. That'd be part of it.
So the fix-it stuff has been sitting there for, unfortunately, 3 years now, going on 4 years and not
Right.
being utilized.
Right.
They should have been. Yeah. Any questions, Jim? Ralph?
I'm comfortable with just returning the money back to both, and we'll take a fresh look at this.
So the fresh look should have been before. I mean, yeah, so.
So we've been sitting on the money since
Yeah,
2021.
since 21.
Not your fault.
Yeah, it was error, whatever that was. So wouldn't it be that, hey, we fix the stuff with the money that we set aside, we fix the stuff, and what's left over we distribute, because both boards were in the same position. They should have fixed it, but nobody realized money was sitting there. That's mine, and then 23, you just do as you've
We've
always
continued
done.
on, right, yep.
And
The excess funds that are left that would still be
Yeah.
distributed as it was, we just had that funding, right, that would have been utilized for those things, but we snuck in the back.
But we already
of
have a
it, yeah.
system in
So,
place.
Yes.
Right.
yeah, so
We need to follow this, what this was intended. I mean, it's already in place that this funding was already there, it's been sitting there, right?
Yes.
So there's no need to put it back here and back there and then have to turn around and when this, that's exactly
But
what.
the CREP refund was not ever distributed based on the dollars of what was actually a part of the agreement of what was supposed to be returned to each of the counties.
there wouldn't have been
Well, it
much
wouldn't
there
have
had
been,
they, if they'd have
it
taken
wouldn't have
care
been
of
in
the
there to
issue.
return, cause it's held.
Right.
It's encumbered, it's
Right.
held in that, it's not to be returned every year.
I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I just spoke with our judge yesterday who actually had asked me, you know, specifically about some of the budgets and some of the dollars because he felt that there wasn't a correct dollar amount that was coming back to us from just what he had seen also, that he thought that there might have been some extra dollars out there and it's obvious this is probably what he's talking about.
Yeah, but it's not like this is a top secret, this has been in there.
I know that, I'm just
I
saying.
know, but I don't know why we would turn around, refund it back,
Well, I think,
proportionally, yeah.
yeah, I think the point was, since we're upping the money to $250,000, that it's starting fresh from $250,000, and it's just returning what hasn't been utilized to both counties.
But I think, but all we're doing is being asked to increase
Add
it.
to, correct.
So why would you return that? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just my thought.
And we're still only gonna proportionately fund
Right,
it, and
right.
we'll get the bulk of
Right.
it.
Because I don't think that we've yet, you know, taken a vote on the actual projects, because these are kind of getting dropped on us of like the air conditioning.
Yeah,
and
this
all
is dropped
other
on us too.
stuff.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, to make this a clean transaction, we should be made whole. And then we discuss the moving forward position of what projects we are going to fund and what we're not going to fund. Whereas we're basically saying, we have a pot of money here, and now we have an air conditioning unit, and we've got this, and we've got this. I think in fairness to both of us, I think that this should basically be a start, fresh point. You know, I guess I'd make a motion to basically say that we return the funds, bring them back to zero for where we need to be of that refund. And at that point, we can have a discussion and take a motion at a later date of what the funds are gonna be.
So the only thing I would retort with that would be simply the HVAC isn't, that was the in case something happens, that's the
Well, that's in
separate,
case
but
we
the
have
stuff
money
that
left,
we
we're gonna put
are,
it on that too.
the stuff that we are gonna take care of now, that is stuff that is more emergent in need, in the sense that like, one of the things here, resolution 3, we start talking about what we're actually gonna start utilize, the funding for, like our refrigerator, we keep all of our stuff, that is
Yeah,
written
these
down,
are
so that's
things,
something we would have to purchase out of there. We'd have to move the monies into that specific line, and then we also have
Nobody's disagreeing
the
with that. I
lawnmowers and-
think that we just need to get that laundry list of what you wanna do, but let's get a fresh start on this. I think it'll keep it clean for everybody.
I second the motion.
Okay, roll call?
Ralph,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Sabrina,
No,
Mike,
Yes.
and Tony.
No. So we're gonna go back, so last question I have is because Geauga is pulling out, and we've talked about that for the last 3.5 years that they're pulling out, for the things that while we were all together, and the percentages that each county paid, is that gonna change now, going into 2023 as we distribute that money back?
So the examples I can give you directly, the 2021 funds, Portage County was almost 79%, Geauga would have been the remaining 21%. For 2023's funds, Geauga County was then at 15, Portage was at 84, and change there. And then this year coming up, this year's budget that we're gonna be presenting, Geauga County's at 5%, 5.11%, and the remainder, 94% is Portage County, as far as usage goes.
Okay. So is it, we've had a motion to, we just voted on to distribute the money that's, is it that 850 or what number you said?
No, it's 150,000 they have in
So
there.
So based on the way that the resolutions are crafted, the first, number 2 here as presented is just, that is at this time next year, that the cash carryover, that would be increased from 150 to 250.
Yeah.
So that was more about the money we're spending in current fiscal year and how much is left over at the end of that year.
But that resolution will,
What was the
would
one we
not.
just passed?
We just passed to refund the 150 that's already in there.
The specific number is 825,915 is the.
Oh.
That's the
exact-
number we were talking about redistributing,
Correct.
and then.
Correct.
And then, yeah, okay.
So that would
Right.
have more correctly been resolution 3, but only in part.
Okay.
Resolution
so
3
we're-
also included appropriations for like the 8403 fund and the 8404 fund, which those are just things that happen historically at this time of year. They were excess cash that was in those lines, but they're grant monies that were given to us, not monies given by the county. So that was just to make those available to us this year. So I don't know if by voting, essentially not passing resolution 3, does that
Yeah,
mean we have to
it pulls
come
this
back
off
with
because
that?
there's gonna be no funds in there.
Well, we can't return those. Those
Yeah,
don't
those-
belong to
You
the
can't.
county.
Yeah, those are, that's the funding that we got from Title I, as well as
Okay.
National School Lunch, so those ones we would have to, basically, they're also sitting in that same thing where we have to
Where they're
apply-
unencumbered.
Unencumbered, we have to put them into the budget so they can be utilized. So that's separate from that other,
Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
So the resolution that Ralph suggested that we just voted on was taking that 827,000.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
No, that,
So,
yes, because I
Good.
guess I'm getting confused about the 100 and the, or the 150 increasing it by 100. I
I'm
thought
hearing
that was
something
just
different
a
than you guys are.
separate.
It was.
Okay, so then
but-
where's this, and then resolution, yeah, going from 150 to 250.
Mhm,
So
that's
we
resolution two.
decided,
That one we understand.
yeah,
that's the one that would draw down on that 825, I think that's what you're asking.
Okay.
That large number, that would draw down on
Okay.
that.
No, it would not.
No, that won't affect
It
it at
wouldn't
all.
because that's
No.
this year's money going into next year.
Correct, I apologize,
So-
you are correct.
Carryover.
We're
So that
just
would
dealing
be-
with
yes.
that.
Come on,
820.
Jay.
Yes,
We're
you are
just dealing with
correct.
that
You are correct.
827. So I believe the resolution that Ralph said that we voted on
Yes.
was to take that 800 whatever and redistribute that to the two counties
Yes.
Correct.
at the
As
rate
I
that-
understood it.
Yeah.
that we
Yes.
said. You agree, gentlemen?
Yeah,
That's
at the percentage that you,
That's percentage
Rattled
of, yeah, that's 78 and 21 or whatever that was.
So what I would ask of this board is if by passing that ballot, or the resolution, or kind of rejecting the one that we had crafted, what does this board wish for us to do with the line 8403 and 8404, which are not monies that ever would have been returned to the county, but were, based on advice of the auditor, all on that one resolution, because they were all monies to be encumbered? Do we have to present that then separately at the next meeting?
Separately.
At the
It would
next
have to
meeting?
be
Think,
separate.
yeah.
Couldn't we do that? I mean, because you guys are in dire need to
Yeah.
fix things right now, the refrigerator and security. I mean, from you told me that security's pretty much
Yeah,
just
that
welcome to arch
system's
of nothing.
close to being shot.
Yeah.
It'll be bad if that goes down.
So can we
Amend it?
amend the resolution, or can we have a resolution, and would it be okay to bring that to the commissioners to approve something like that in two different counties? Is that
I mean,
possible? Is that
we could certainly do
legal?
that. Those particular funds would not necessarily impact any of the construction. The Title I is more for programming related to education services, and then the National School Lunch is mostly just the provision of food services and things like that.
So then, if we're gonna redistribute that money at a 78-21, close to that, so of that, what would we have to do to say, all right, we could utilize that money before Geauga makes their decision?
Well, that money doesn't belong to Geauga County.
No, part of it's 21%.
No,
No
that's what he's
percentage of
saying.
that.
This
That
is
percentage,
different.
those two,
Of the
those two
800?
numbers, of the 800, yes.
Yes, that's
a
what I'm
second
talking
number.
about.
But all within one resolution, we have also the $74,744 in our Title I, which is the school programming, and the $47,040 in our national school lunch. So those would not be redistributed to counties because their grant money is given specifically to
Yeah,
the
for
state.
specific uses.
Right, so the question that I am posing is there a way that we can modify the resolution to pass our ability to encumber those today, or do we just do that at the next meeting?
Yeah, let's just do that at the next meeting.
You're gonna be in trouble. The refrigerators
No, they need it
doesn't work
now.
And you
Unless
don't have
we
any
have
additional
another,
funds
we
to-
can have
to
an
be able to do
emergency
that?
meeting.
So that would also be,
So part of the concern is that there are no funds available in the capital assets lines. And one of the asks, which again was tied within all of these resolutions based on feedback we got at the auditor, was that we would put it all in that one resolution. So we have no ability, even if you gave us that money, that money's not going into the proper line. We have no ability to buy a new reach-in fridge, to replace our lawnmower, or replace the washer.
Security
the
system.
Well, you know
washer,
what we can
the-
do? We can always call a special meeting to take care of
Handle
this
with those
sooner than
directly.
later. Yeah.
And that's gotta be very soon.
And how much notice do we need, Cassidy?
For a special meeting, which, as far as I know, all meetings of the JDC Joint Board are special meetings, but I think you need 24 hours.
Okay, that's all we need. Let's get it going.
And
Which is
just
not
so
a
the
problem
board
for
is
us to
aware,
reschedule something.
that we need to discuss, the tax budget hearing for the JDC Board. So that was going to be scheduled in a month's time anyway.
Yeah, but that's
Around-
too
around,
long.
yeah.
If they have a refrigerator,
So
then
there's
Mike,
two
Ralph,
needs.
and Jim are gonna have to buy him a new one. 'Cause they don't have money available.
I have a Yeti cooler for you.
Okay, so,
So,
24
I have a
hours. I
game
think that's all we need.
And I guess what are you looking at? What's the, what kind of a number are we looking at for the fridge?
so the fridge capital asset, it was between 8 to 10,000 for that. There was the riding lawnmower, which was also on there, was around that $10,000 mark. Our walk-through metal detector was the other thing that we were gonna utilize those funds, like putting those monies into there.
that was like 8.
That was about 8,000 as well. And then the security project, we've put it out to specific vendors. Without, our first one was around 250, so with change orders or anything like that, we're gonna put 275,000 into that to redo that whole security system for all automated door locks and all those things.
But I think we're probably looking in the immediate future about being able to purchase those capital assets, so.
So let me ask you this, if everybody would be in agreement, if we would make a motion to amend the last motion with the return of the funds, and what we would do is we would agree to leave $25,000 into your capital line item to be able to have as an emergency fund for something immediate, that it would be something that you would have funds available, so if your refrigerator went down tonight, tomorrow you could operate.
well, do we have the invoice? Because when I calculate this, it's not coming up to 60,000. Is that because you don't have an invoice for the security stuff that you were
Correct.
talking about?
So we actually, we obtained quotes for these items. We actually opened POs to purchase them, and we were prevented from purchasing them because we were opening them from just general expenditure lines when every one of the pieces of equipment was qualified to be considered a capital asset.
Right.
So we weren't able to expense it from the lines where the monies were. So part
Oh.
of what we were looking for here, but also $60,000 worth of money, if we were to just transfer it from our general operating budget into capital assets that were unexpected, then there's kind of a $60,000 hole, because we didn't anticipate all of that equipment going bad in 1 year. So this was essentially an ask to go from the unencumbered monies to cover that $60,000 hole, which is, the washing machine was more of an estimate, because it's just, we don't have a quote for that one
And
definitively.
that was more like what Ralph was talking about, that if that washing machine goes down, we're not washing clothes by hand, so we would be able to go out with that extra
Yeah.
funding to go and get that left
So
over.
how much do you think that you truly need, the
For those
full
three things.
60?
For those 3 things, it would be the 60,000.
Okay.
There's four
Things,
washing
four
machines.
things, 4 things included in that, yes.
I
Okay,
think
'cause
the
I
metal
just saw
detector
3.
and stuff, that starts to get to the point that I think that would kind of, we would probably need to look at that a little bit further. You know, that's not like an immediate need, so I would say that something that's reasonable for an immediate need, if you're down a lawnmower that you don't have a lawnmower, if you're down the freezer, if you're down something that, you know, immediate operation type of stuff, but let's just try to get this cleaned up and then we'll just start to look at this moving forward.
So I would
What
argue that
about the
the
metal
metal detector
detector?
is an immediate need, being that as a juvenile facility, we have contact visitation and we're not permitted to pat down our
Yeah.
visitors.
Yeah.
So, to deter contraband into the
So
facility.
you don't have a metal detector currently?
Our metal detector right now is remarkably,
Dysfunctional?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it gives a lot of false positives. You can get through it with things when we test it.
Have you guys done some research on the different detectors that are out there?
Yeah.
And that's why we have to go with the correctional based one that's a lot more. That's why that's at that like $10,000 range.
Yeah, it was, I think the quote we got was like 76
That was for the-
or
yeah.
something like that, yeah.
Is it like a Garrett style, but like a wand style, or?
No,
is
it's
it-
a
That's
gate.
the walkthrough with the ADA compliance, all the stuff that might have to meet. Our one right now is a little bit more narrow, wouldn't meet that ADA. So that's kind of, prevent future issue with the ADA, getting that done too.
Okay, so your request would be the 60 then?
It
Yeah,
would-
that's,
Yes, that would be
okay,
undoubtedly, and then we can come back with the, security project, have that more outlined and specific.
is Jaga in line with that, since you're
So
hearing?
give me the breakdown again, so you said the fridge was how much?
The fridge is,
8 to 10.
it was 8 to 10. That was depending on there was a delivery service type issue, so,
Also, all of our quotes are past their
and there's that as well.
sustainable time because we had them and were prepared to purchase, and now we're having to move these monies around to make the purchases, so we'd have to get requoted.
The eight-ish for the metal detector as well. Then we had the lawnmower,
10.
that was
The
10.
lawnmower was, we were right under 10.
We were underneath 10 for the lawnmower.
That's
And
30,000.
And
right,
then-
and then if our washing machine broke, that's how much it would be for that in case of emergency to get that there. So when you were saying
But that's
put
an if,
funding,
you know, I mean,
So-
we're back to an if here, so I mean, the
Well,
machine is
I'm
working,
just saying that's
washing machine
because
is
you
working.
were-
So I'd say 30 would be sufficient to get those three.
okay.
So I would feel
Um,
comfortable to amend it to allow for 30 to be put into that contingency account, and then the rest of it get dispersed back.
So let's go back to the washer. Is there problems with the washer?
So if you're in our facility and it kicks on, you will know because the belts are going so heavily on it that it screeches throughout the entire wing that it's in. It's kind of like a matter of time. So like you said, it's not like we have to buy it now, but it's on its last leg. So if that would happen, we would have to come back again to put that in. That's why when you brought up the funding of just putting it in there when that thing happens,
Right.
that's why that.
So when's the last time it was serviced?
It was a service team that told us that it's like the clutch and the motor that
Right.
is failing at this point. It's that machine is a 10-year-old machine, I would approximate, and it's doing, 6 loads of laundry stuffed to its 60-gallon gills every day.
And how much is the washing machine?
The last estimate, Jay, you got.
Yeah, the last estimate we got for that commercial one, I believe it was around the 23 to 24,000.
1,000?
Yeah, because it's one of those bigger units. We would have to also look at, that was approximately a year and a half ago, so if those things have went up or whenever, the costing and whatnot with that.
So it looks like we could maybe reduce it down to maybe 50 then, if you want to do the washing machine.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, why,
That's
if we know
53.
it's on our last leg, why are we gonna wait till it breaks and then we got a real problem? I mean, if you're saying the service company is saying it's at end of life, what's going wrong, it's not worth repairing, is that what I'm hearing? I mean, I'm just.
That's why we
That's our
include that
understanding, yeah.
extra amount on top of the things that we had very specifically outlined.
Jim,
was
can we
the-
take out like 56,000, fix that, and then those two bigger things, just once
I
we
mean, why
split
don't
the
we
money?
do this, why don't we do the 30, and then let's get an actual, like an actual zeroed down, I mean, $20-some thousand for a washing machine that
that's-
potentially could have a motor and whatever
That's a huge
in parts to be replaced, you know, could be a whole lot less. I know that we're, you know, we deal with that in our jail, where we basically don't just put the machine out, you know, out of service. They come in and they just will revamp it, you know, and it's a whole lot cheaper to do that than to, and we do
If it's
a whole lot
revampable, yeah.
more laundry than
But
6
how many
loads a day.
machines do you have?
We probably have 4 machines,
How many machines do you have?
Just the one.
Just the one.
Well, go steal one.
but, you know, we.
Jog is
Well, there's the solution. We'll take it to the jail and do laundry. They have 4.
I don't need the staff.
That goes
to come
down.
Just down the
take it,
street.
so they're not with the kids.
There you
Yeah,
go.
so I would say for the 30 would probably be, to give them the ability of getting all that done, then we could zero down on the washer. I would say if we want to amend it and transfer 30 into that contingency,
So we're gonna take it to 826, take 30,000 of that, and then split it however it's supposed to go.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, we would put that into our capital assets line, cause that's where we need it to happen.
From there to the capital assets, and then we'll return the rest as is, and then
Yeah,
we'll come
and
back
then
at the
come back
next
and then
meeting,
just- yep.
once the documentation's ready and make
Now,
those votes.
are we returning the rest, just to clarify, we're returning the rest based on a resolution we're passing today, or are we coming back with a resolution to do that?
I think we just passed it and we're
Yeah.
modifying it.
Okay,
We
Okay.
passed the first resolution was to redistribute the monies that are there from 2021. We're gonna modify it to take $30,000 off there before it's distributed,
Right.
correct?
Right, correct.
So do we have a motion?
So-
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second? Yep, did you second?
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
motion.
And this is a motion to modify the previous motion
Motion.
to return the funds.
Yes, by $30,000.
Subtract off 30,000. Reduce it by
With the
30,000.
correct split.
So, yeah, it would be the
Tony was the
535,
second.
281.
Pardon?
You were the
No,
second.
Jim
Jim
and
did.
Chip,
Ra-
okay.
Ralph.
Okay. Sabrina,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
and James.
Yes.
Okay. That's it. Do you have a couple of those other resolutions there?
the other resolutions were if that, like the larger dollar amounts were to have moved, how we got them where we needed them to be to use them.
So right now, we
they're now
don't need to
moved.
do this?
Correct.
Okay. All right, good.
Okay.
Is there anything else to come before the board?
Is there any activity as far as any other in offenders that are out of county or anything that we're bringing in yet for,
Red
daily
event
rate?
space? No, not currently.
Nothing yet?
Nothing on
Okay.
that, nothing on that front.
I have nothing else.
You don't have any ice, chewing ice?
No, we currently do not.
Okay. Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Roll call?
Tony,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and Sabrina.
Yes.
Thanks,
you,
guys.
gentlemen.
Thank you,
you
everybody.
guys,
Thank
much
you.
appreciated.
Yep.
Brandon. Thank you for everything.
Thank you again.
Fruit
Good
basket
job,
of some
Brandon.
sort, I don't know,
Yeah,
because I get a little
okay.
rain.